I sent the link. Damn.
Look at us.
We're big boys now. Yeah. Welcome, everybody, to the Alfalfa podcast, the first ever in-person YouTube live stream.
Yeah.
I wish I could clap. I want to clap
Studio
myself.
V1.
Yeah, very
you can see
V1.
is very humble. It's basically a corner of Nick's office at the moment. But
Yep. We're calling it 0.5 version MacGyver. A lot of MacGyver.
Yeah, so if you're here live right now, first of all, welcome. And if you could just let us know everything is sounding right, looking right, you can hear everybody. Promise we won't do sound checks every episode, just a one-time thing. We're very nervous about this, if you can't tell. But I think we have everything.
Speak for yourself.
Yeah, the techno king. So we are going to today approach this as one big long episode with a break in the middle to break out between money and life. And if you're hearing this on the pod, as you can see, we're taking a very YouTube first approach to this whole thing. And we're going to be doing these live every Wednesday at 4:30 Pacific. Seems to be the magic number. We're about 9 minutes late, but we'll get better at this.
Pretty good for us.
Yeah. This is
9
really
minutes late is basically German translation for us.
So what do we got for money today? Since I don't have my notes in front of me, you can jump in.
Well, we had a bit of a blow up last week in the crypto markets, so we're gonna talk about, is it over? Yes or no?
Mm-hmm.
Also chat a little bit about Coinbase happenings with the SEC.
Yeah, is crypto dead in America?
Yeah, is crypto dead in America? Our good friend, not really, Chamath Palihapitiya, declared crypto dead in America on the last All In podcast. Dead to rights. It's done. Goodbye. We're going to talk about whether or not we think that is actually the case.
I love it. Alfalfa round?
Yeah.
Who's here, by the way? Can we just, Eric, can you?
Yeah, we got some
I
regulars.
got here on my phone. Oh, we got Tunsky, obviously. We got Tunsky and the bagel in the chat.
Calcium says make sure to post the YouTube link on Twitter if you guys haven't done that.
God.
Did we post it in Discord? Somebody do that?
Yeah, I posted it in Discord.
Okay, nice.
Don't worry.
Nice.
Liquidity's in here.
OG.
Nice. What's up, Liquidity?
Calcium. All right. So how about I kick off the Alfalfa round?
Kick off the round.
So I did a thing that I haven't done ever.
Yeah?
Yeah. I
I
sold
love
a
that.
little Bitcoin this morning.
Ooh.
You never sold Bitcoin?
Never sold Bitcoin.
First time?
Yeah. Since I bought it, maybe, I don't know what it is, 2-3 years now or something. I think I mentioned before that I do want to switch my Bitcoin to ETH at some point. So
You didn't sell for ETH. You just
Your
sold
mic.
for straight cash.
yeah, and I sold like a small portion, like a DCAing out, like slightly less than 10%.
Why?
Because I thought we were getting a little peaky.
You
Peaky.
sold today.
I sold today.
You sold today on that turbo pump
Oh
up?
yeah, 20. I didn't get all the way to the top. 29.8 was the sell price.
That's pretty good.
Decent.
I was telling the Magic Lines channel in the Discord, I saw 1960 ETH, and I was like, I'm going to sell a little bit more. But I went to take Ziggy for a walk, and I came back, and the price was down like 9%. I was like, what the hell happened? So
yeah,
still got it.
I guess I was planning if the ETH BTC ratio, got to like 0.05 around there ish, I was going to swap it to ETH anyway. So I figured, see what happens. And if it goes up, maybe pair off a little more. We'll see how it goes. The second bit of alpha, so that was the move I made, but I want to talk about a data point. Continuous job claims. We're on a pre-recession path, and continuous job claims is tends to be like a short-term indicator, like within months of the start of a recession. And right now, the last weekly data came in, we were up 22% year over year. And anytime it's up 10% year over year, a recession comes. So there's never been a
When? Like immediately?
within months. So
Within months.
Is
The
this
data-
back to that chart we reviewed one time?
yes.
Nice.
So
I like bringing it full
the
circle.
highest probability is from 6 to 12 months. So we looked at data from 0 to 6 months, 6 to 12, and 12 to 18. So that would put us in the September to February timeline. But you can see on the chart as this number starts to rise back up, which it certainly is, it could come within 2-3 months. So I don't know. I think it's like a good metric to look at. It seems pretty reliable when you see this big of an increase, and it's not saying recession imminent. It just says pre-recession path, something to keep aware of. So I thought that was the most interesting stat I saw last week.
I like it.
You guys got anything?
I have something non-crypto-y.
Non-crypto-y?
Yeah, so maybe if you have something crypto-y, precede me, and then I'll loop back around with
All right.
my non-crypto-y.
That's cool. Mine might flow a little bit into our market talk discussion. So
Mine will too.
yeah. All right.
Okay,
Let's
then.
hit us with it.
Fine, I'll
Give
sandwich
me
it in
the
here.
non-crypto-y stuff.
So, been thinking a lot about this idea lately of like building a dream team and how you deal in general with non-performers. And I think this just generally relates to anyone who's a manager of people or a startup sort of, entrepreneur of any kind. I mean, you're dealing with people and you're always going to run into the situation where people are just generally get into a rut or get into a situation where they lack motivation. And for one reason or another, they're not performing. And in particular, in this environment, which is recessionary or pre-recessionary, and in the environment of like extreme competition in generative AI, you have to set an extremely high bar. And I've been thinking a lot about leadership styles and, how direct or indirect to be with people. And this has been an evolution for me for many, many years. When do you pull someone aside and have a crucial conversation, so on and so forth. So one thing that sort of came to me over the last few weeks was the first step is do not ignore the situation. As soon as you see something wrong as the person's manager or whatever your role is, or even as their business partner, you have to be in an environment where this is actually even more critical with business partners, because business partners and co-founders often don't want to have those conversations because they're like, you're a big boy, you're a big girl, it's not my job to be your boss and tell you what to do. And you never want to come off like you're trying to micromanage the person. So what happens as a result of that is they avoid the conversation. And what I've learned is you have to immediately step into the conversation at all times. You have to give each other feedback, and you have to create an environment where it's okay to give feedback. And in particular, if the person works for you, waiting and holding that and becoming resentful and over-analyzing how to give that feedback causes more problems down the road. It's kind of like what Jordan Peterson talks about from a psychology perspective when he says conflict avoided compounds. So you've got to address the situation. And it doesn't mean it's a big deal. It can be just something really small. You just say it. It's like, hey, that spreadsheet was incomplete. Like, just factual. Like, it's just incomplete. I expect it to be at this level so that we can make a decision off of it by the time we enter the meeting. Hey man, don't come to the meeting and do the spreadsheet. Please come prepared. Done, and you move on. Now, say you already have like an exit path for this person in mind, or a plan for this person who's a non-performer. Like, you want to do something with them, like move them into another role, or maybe even want to move on from the person. What I've found over the years is if you come at somebody with that information and that level of feedback, that you're that disappointed and frustrated all at once, and it's very overwhelming for them. And in particular, if you have a fear, which is really common, where a lot of people you work with, they tend to have information that you need. And you need to properly offload that information and transition that person to a new person, to yourself. And you got to, and it's just often people that are low performers, what they do is they create a role for themselves where you're dependent on them. And instead of the ball moving like in basketball, which is my goal, I always say this to my team, it's like, if we're the dream team, the ball should be moving like 1,000 miles an hour between us. No one should be holding the ball for too long. And what weak performers often do is they hold the ball too long, and they find excuses to make themselves look busy. And they're telling you something takes 2 weeks when it really takes 2 days. So once you start to suss that out, I think it's important to not come at them too aggressively and still give them a chance to correct the situation, but to let them know that step one, let them see that they're underperforming themselves. I think that's the most critical thing. And if they choose to step up and do something with it and turn it around, then great. And if they don't, then I think they remove themselves from the role over time. If you keep giving micro feedback along the way. Because you mention one thing and you tell them what success looks like. The next day they do the same thing again. And it's like, Jim, what's going on? And you don't have to say anything. Like they start to realize for themselves what's going on. And I think this just avoids drama, because I think that a lot of people get into situations where they don't want the drama. They just want it to be very logical, a very clear sort of like path to figuring it out. And people is everything in a small team. So
Yeah,
something I think about.
that's good advice, because if anyone's listening who's ever managed someone, you may have had a moment where you kind of stuck your head in the sand. I've done that in the past. And like usually it comes down to like if they're low performers, either they can't do it or they don't care. And when you have that talk with them, you answer the second question: do they care? Because if they care, they're like, shit, thanks for letting me know. Like I didn't know I did that, or you're right, I'll do better at it. And then answers the second question for you if they actually care. So, and then the second talk is maybe a little more stern, like directly ask them, can you not get it done, or do you not care? Which one is it? Because it's one of the two.
Yep.
I've had that disappointed dad talk, literally word for word, a few times, and it works. It gets to the point.
Yeah,
Is that your technique, disappointed dad?
Yeah,
Like,
I think so. Like you got
I just
That's what mine is most of the time, for sure. Like I tend to not. It's funny because I experimented over the last like maybe year with being a little more stern and a little more direct, and I actually found it just wasn't really for me and my personality, because I noticed that some people were getting great results with that style of like, we're cool, but if needed to have a conversation, it's going to be a very serious conversation and direct. I was like, no, this is not for me. I like to show people what they need to know themselves and allow them to manage themselves. And I think it's very easy for people to see if you just ask them the right questions, that either their heart's not in it or they don't have the skills. And if they don't have the skills, it's their job to come to you and be like, I need help. But that whole like kind of putting it off till you come to them is the problem.
Yeah. I like step one, go to the balcony with them, and step two, disappointed dad talk.
Throw them off the balcony.
Yeah. Toss them over. Well, I'm glad you're here. But no, when you go to a balcony with someone, you're side by side. You're looking out on the picture together in the same direction. And it's like, hey, we have this issue. Here's the problem. You're like side by side. Helps if you do it on the walk, obviously, rather than across the table from someone. But it's like the style you're talking about.
Yeah, I asked, here's the outcome for the organization. Yeah. What do you think we should do? And they can easily show themselves like the answer. So yeah, people's side of things is hard. I'll wrap this by saying like one of the smartest people that I've ever met in my life. I mean, we're talking about like a very high IQ scientist told me that the people side of running a startup has been harder for him than the science. And that's mind blowing. So leadership is very difficult. So if you're out there and you're having a hard time with it, like everyone has a hard time with it.
No question.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not good at that. Like I've always admired your ability to have those direct conversations without it turning into just like war, because I leave things off. I leave things and then I explode.
Mm-hmm. Armand's had a few talks with us.
Just a few. I'm a frequent recipient of exasperated, disappointed Armand.
Oh God, it's being revealed. No, and no comment. We'll leave it at that. We'll wrap that segment. You guys some market stuff?
Yeah, I guess mine's not super market related, but I wanted to shout a tool I've been using in my trading recently in the past like couple months or so, but I haven't really talked about it a lot on the podcast. Have you guys ever heard of High Block Capital?
Never.
They have a lot of tools for traders, but there's a really interesting one they have, which is like a sort of like liquidation heat map where they use some sort of proprietary methodology behind the scenes. I don't know, something with the open interest and the data, but they put a chart of like Bitcoin up there, and then you can see all the bubbles with where like liquidation points are, right? And it's funny because I was talking to Calcium in the Discord today. He's like, yeah, I think he likes these because he's always like, what's the liquidation heat map looking like today? What's it looking like today? So I was like, I don't think it's that bad. That's what I assumed. So I pulled up ETH and I pulled up the ETH chart, and there was just a super crazy imbalance. Like there were all these like freaking long liquidations at the bottom and very few short liquidations. And I I was like, actually, like this thing looks like it's got some downside fuel if we get a move. And he was like, should I short it here? And I was like, no, probably not. And that was 15 minutes before it, like, absolutely.
So
nuked.
it was a long squeeze.
Yeah, like you saw price just absolutely nuke today. There was a huge imbalance of like sort of like shorts and longs. I mean, according to their data anyway. So we moved very quickly to the downside. And I like to trade liquidity, and I like to be on the other side of those moves typically and try to think about where they are. I wasn't today, but it's a pretty cool tool.
What's the price tag on that bad boy?
I think it's like $750 a year.
Not bad.
It's not bad. I mean, it's worth it if you trade any sort of size at all. I think
It probably has other useful data in there besides just this one metric.
I'm told it does. I literally never used any of the other stuff, but there's a whole bunch of other stuff in there. But yeah, just throwing that out there for anybody who's interested.
Nice. Well, my alfalfa is like related to our next segment, which is going to be talking about what you want to buy and hold for the long term. What's in your moon bag? And particularly mine is on the opposite end of that. What's in your
shit bag, sir?
What's in your shit bag? The hold'll bag versus the fold'll bag. I want to fold. I want to fold something along the lines of what you were talking about, Nick, where you're selling Bitcoin. I have that same sort of thesis, but I am taking like the higher beta version. I've talked about it on a previous Alfalfa segment. It's Marathon Digital. I did some more deep diving into this shit company.
Is that Mara?
Mara, the ticker symbol.
Ticker MARA.
MARA. God, this company is such dog shit. Okay, so here's the math. So they buy mining rig equipment and then they pump energy through it to mine Bitcoin, and they earn Bitcoin over time. So the energy component alone would break even at Bitcoin's price at 17,500. So that's their margin on just that component. But like they have to rebuy mining equipment every 4 years because this shit goes bad or goes obsolete. So there's like heavy depreciation on that to the point where they've never been profitable ever. Never.
What do you mean? Like Bitcoin 60K?
When Bitcoin was at 69K, like in 2021, they were still operating cash flow negative.
Oof.
This is the worst company I've ever
because
seen.
They need to buy the most recent ant miner.
Yeah, they have to continuously rebuy, and then like when the price of Bitcoin goes down, like it has, well then all of these mining rigs that they bought are now impaired. So what they actually did, they like pre-ordered a bunch of these rigs from a company, and then that company went bankrupt. So they never even got their rigs.
Ooh.
Yeah,
Wow.
It stings. So when I'm looking at this, like off the top, just with the energy cost and then the depreciation, they're negative on every dollar of revenue. So then, the people who are like bullish Mara are saying like, oh, well, they'll deploy more rigs. Well, that's fucking stupid. That's more losses. Not to mention, this is still a business. Like you have to pay salaries and like, it's a publicly traded business. You have like a legal team. Like there's so many expenses that go beyond just cost of goods sold. So
what about the fact that just this price moves along with Bitcoin price?
Yeah, so I think like that's where my first thought was, like, how do I short Bitcoin or get short exposure to Bitcoin? I want a short, even worse version of Bitcoin.
Damn.
I like it.
Hopefully there's no Mara fanboys in the chat.
I've had a lot of friends make a lot of money off of Mara on the run-up.
Oh yeah,
2020 run-up.
Dude, their retained earnings, like meaning like every dollar they've either gained or lost since inception is like negative $2 billion. And additional paid in capital, that means like the amount of dollars that came in investment is $3 billion. So that's the only reason why they're still alive, is because there's more suckers willing to put money in this shitty business.
Good little Ponzi.
Yeah, it's a great little Ponzi.
All right, can I set up the market discussion a little bit here? Because like I'm the one who has questions, and I see like tensions coming from both sides, bull and bear. So here's what I have down. Trying to balance these things in my mind. One is an interest rate pause, potentially in May or June, bullish. Possible recession, bearish. Druckenmiller Miller is betting on the USD decline, possibly bullish, although he could be towards the end of his trade now that he's come public with it. And the last one is maybe an SEC lawsuit against Coinbase, potentially bearish. So these are things I'm like weighing in my mind. They're probably on different time horizons, but I'm trying to understand where we go. I'm positioned. The never sell bag is still there. So if it goes up, cool. But I'm not fully positioned. So if it goes up, probably a little bit of pain. I'm more positioned that risk management that it goes down, and I hopefully buy in at an appropriate price. So I don't know. Does any of those two bullish things, the interest rate and the fact that Druckenmiller says the U.S. dollar is going down, he's betting against it, or the two bearish things, a possible recession or a potential lawsuit against Coinbase?
What's his timeline? Like down over the next 5 years, in which case, like, sure, I agree with that. Like down over the next month?
We didn't get too many details because the video of the speech he made is not public, but there were a Financial Times reporter there, and they took some notes and turned in an article. And what we don't know, we probably look at his 13F. Is that the document, Eric? Yeah.
That shows his holdings?
Yeah, we could probably look back over the past quarters and see if he put that trade on and when he put it on. So we don't know his time horizon.
So one thing I found interesting actually is that 42 Macro, their research is projecting like a decline in the stock market. Not super surprising. They've been pretty bearish for a while. But they're also projecting a fall in the dollar.
So this is interesting because
that's something I haven't wrapped.
I'm glad you brought that up because he is also in the hard landing camp. So I think in a deflationary environment, which we all kind of bet is going on, the USD tends to devalue. Is that right?
No,
it goes up in a devaluing scenario.
Yeah.
So I don't know how he squares those two because he said I'm in the hard landing.
Deflation is
okay.
Dollar up generally. Hard and like a hard landing, like any sort of crisis should be dollar up. Like just think what happened during COVID. Suddenly, like when there's like some sort of credit, there's like this like shortage of dollars. People can't get their hands on enough dollars. This is why we had to open up all like the swap lines with foreign countries during COVID, just to prevent this like freaking deflationary collapse, like this like liquidity crisis. So it could be that in a world where stuff is bleeding, but it's not a crisis, it's going down. But like I've stopped like looking at it quite as much in my trades because of that. I don't know if it's as clear signal as it was like last year when everything was basically just like an inverse dollar trade. I think things are a little more complicated right now. I'm also not sure how much any of the other stuff you said like really matters, right? Like if I were to pull up a chart for you of like the S&P 500 overlaid with global liquidity, you'd just be like, oh, that's the same chart. And everybody's talking about this thing and this thing and this thing and this thing. And like the reality is that since the beginning of this year, or since like actually late October of last year, global liquidity has been basically up only. It's kind of, it kind of peaked, I guess, like a month ago and has been sideways and a little sketchy. And we've also seen, markets kind of shaky in recent weeks because of that. But that's basically the same thing. Like it's just, we're just trading whatever central banks are doing.
Stephen, has that liquidity indicator that you often cite, has that flashed blue yet?
It's the RSI of liquidity, correct?
Yeah, it's like a liquidity RSI, and no, it hasn't. It's got a little more room to the upside. I think it's interesting. Like everything I look at personally kind of looks like it wants to go down, but also that it has a little more room to the upside. That like indicator is something I definitely look at. But stablecoin like Tether and USDC dominance, like the ratio of those kind of majors relative to the total crypto market cap, relative to Bitcoin, relative to ETH, that looks like it has more upside. Like it looks like Bitcoin's got like 20% upside in that ratio. It looks like ETH's got about like 30% upside in that ratio.
What about that stablecoin to total market cap chart that looks like it's kind of topped out?
That one, like so So there's some nuance in like when you're looking at stable coins, right? And we're talking about the ratio of stablecoin market cap to crypto market cap, which I think is like a really good thing to look at because in theory, like, crypto prices can only be supported if there's sufficient like dollar liquidity in the system that's around buying crypto. One thing I've been wondering about that is like we've had this issue with BUSD, Binance's stablecoin, in recent months. And there have been all sorts of weird issues about whether or not that coin was like double counted on some chains, whether it was like audited properly on Binance chain, and it's been just absolutely getting nuked all year. And CZ has been tweeting about buying Bitcoin with it, and it's like so there's something weird going on with it. Like, and if you include like all stable coins with BUSD, it looks like we're going just down on it, and have been going down on it for a while. But if you just pull out the majors, like if you just pull out USDC and Tether, we actually bottomed. Like USDC and Tether market cap actually bottomed like a month or two ago, roughly. And
So
it's actually been trending.
That's like
upward.
plateauing? That one?
It's been trending up.
Wow.
Actually. So when you look at the ratio in terms of just like the majors of stable coins to total or to Bitcoin or to ETH, right? You can paint a picture for yourself where it looks like there's more upside. And that upside correlates with like pretty strong levels, like 20% in Bitcoin is probably about 37K. I've been saying it would be weird to me to have Bitcoin like such like a huge move off the bottom. Like it's been sideways accumulating for what, like 275, 280 days or something at this point. So for us to like accumulate for that long and make such a huge move off the bottom like we did beginning of this year, and to not even take out like those highs at 32K, like seems weird to me. Like usually you see price move like liquidity to liquidity, and there's like a lot of liquidity for sellers above those highs. So I am like of the mindset that I still want to look for an opportunity to get long again. Actually, I'm mostly cash right now. I think the risk reward for going long here is kind of bad, but I do think you could see a pullback to Bitcoin, like 24.5K or so. I think there's like pretty good support there. The weekly structure is still intact there. People will probably be freaking out.
Yeah, they would think that it's all dead again. It's all over, and then that's when you would go long.
That's when I like to go long, and I see confluence in stocks. Like when I look at the S&P chart, I'm like, this thing looks like it just wants to cascade down to 3,800 like very quickly. Like could be like a bloody May, and everybody's gonna be like, sell in May and go away. And maybe that's right. It is right very often. It would be very counterintuitive for us to have like a bullish Ethereum summer. Ethereum usually sucks during the summer, like seasonality. But it's kind of setting up that way. And if we don't have like a recession until later this year, then I don't know, maybe there is that window there.
So Eric, I know your position a little more bearish. You mentioned your shitcoin bag. Do any of those hold a greater weight, or do you have like something else in your mind that's like kind of making you take that stance?
No, I'm just thinking more long term. Like Steven here is talking about these moves that can last through May or something, and I'm just thinking we are going into a recession inevitably at some point. So I'm just thinking that long term mindset is like I just want to be on the sidelines. I want to be on the sidelines and be patient, and I'll get that opportunity to buy the big dip. I don't want to buy it down to 24K Bitcoin or whatever.
Yeah, Emma's very upset in the chat. She said there's no way we're having a new bull market.
Okay.
No, I mean, I agree with that. I don't think we're having a new bull market, but like also if you can buy Ethereum at 1,600 and sell it at 2,700, that's a pretty good return.
I thought, what if we pause in May, and maybe at the May meeting, which is just in what, 7 to 10 days ish?
It's next Wednesday.
Okay, so next Wednesday, what if they signal, hey, we might be cautious here, and the market takes as this is a pause? You could totally see a rally up in every asset class. Would you agree?
I think the more likely scenario is the market has like a little shakeout because like inflation is still kind of bad. The economy, as far as I can tell, is pretty resilient still. So like that to me kind of coincides with this idea that, Fed might come out and be like, we're not done. And then we may have this kind of little violent sell-off, right? But in reality, if they do that and we adjust to that new normal and the economy is still not tanking, then maybe that is the window. Like, I'm not so convinced that like a pause, like the market's going to be like, yay, up only, because I think the context of it like matters a lot. I think if the Fed is like pausing next meeting, like there's probably something where, like I initially thought they might pause, but like I think like the housing, have you seen like all the recent like housing data? It's like, it's hot. Like everything is on fire as far as housing goes. You can feel free to jump in. I got some stats for you once you.
I guess one other market question I had, because we've talked, I get confused of whether we've talked about this in the podcast or when we're out separately without a microphone or phones, but we've talked in the past how tax day is like a critical day in crypto. And we may have seen that here where like we topped like within a week of tax day. So do we see that again? And like, is that like a mark the note for next year? Because it felt like we did.
It's possible.
Yeah.
I mean, I had that tweet a couple of weeks ago where I was like, is this what complacency feels like? And I'm like, it feels like complacency. We're like 1900 ETH. Everybody's like, everything's fine. And we're trading up into resistance. So like, I'm very aware that it could be over, right? But what I like to do is look for points to buy where, okay, like this happened like a few weeks ago. Like I bought around 1400. It looked very ugly at the time. But I kind of went all in there because I was like, okay, well, if it is over, I know it's over pretty quickly, and I take a scratch and move on with my life. And to me, that sort of 2400-ish Bitcoin area is like another one of those areas where I'm willing to jump in and take that risk. But I'm not like, yeah, we're definitely going back up. But I see it as plausible, and I've seen sentiment just go like ultra bear again, which is so funny because everybody was just mad before.
So where are the key liquidity levels? Like if we do get a little rally, let's say next week, let's say there's some positive narrative coming out of the Fed meeting where they say like, oh, we're thinking about pausing, and then like everything rallies a little bit. Like where do you think Bitcoin would see some trouble passing certain levels, like 35K, 30?
I'm watching. So another thing you can do as like a long-term investor is to use like fib retracements to a degree, but you use them on like really huge moves, right? And it's not that hard to do. Like if you have a TradingView account, which I think you should have if you are investing a lot of money in crypto because it's useful, even if you only use it on the weekly. And if you take like the high of that like last leg we had, the one that super nuked us, I don't know, it was around like 48K down to 16. What you usually see is you'll see selling start to happen once we reach above the 50%, because above 50% is like, that's like discount prices for sellers, right? You're above that retrace, and you often see stuff go to like the 618 level.
Yeah.
Right. So that to me is like above 32. That's around like 35, 36, 37K. We get these like very important highs at 32K. I think if we run those, there's air above. So we could go up to 37 like really fast, no problem. But that to me is like maybe Wile E. Coyote off the cliff, like looking down. He's like, oh wait, there's like nothing here. That's what I would be worried about. But I think if we go higher, like we have to take those 32 or so levels at a minimum. But I'm not convinced that we do it next week. If we do.
I want some Moonbag.
Oh yeah, Moonbag shitbag.
Not forget Moon. We got Eric's shitbag.
Yeah,
I want some Moonbag.
Blew my load early.
Yeah,
So-
blew real early.
I had a little list here.
So
Again,
this is assets that you believe will.
We're
Is the qualifier
we're in like
outperform?
I think we're in like accumulation time now. I think it's safe to say that. Like maybe not literally right now at these
Speak
prices,
for yourself,
but
pal.
this is basically the
next
this is
6
the-
months.
Yeah, like it's not easy to accumulate Solana and nail the bottom, right? Like keep in mind what's Solana at, like $21 right now. I think bottom to like $7.
Yeah,
like 200% off the lows.
Yeah.
Like you kind of just gotta DCA it like on nukes like during this year. You never know which nuke is going to be the last nuke, and
Right.
But like last year wasn't the time. But I think it's okay.
But the question is,
now.
in the next bull run, who's your
What do you
horse?
want?
Right. So I have some questions because my kind of test for a little Moonbag coin is it obviously has to outbeat ETH. So if we look over the last 6 to 9 months, GMX, LDO, RPL, those have beaten ETH. But I'm a little worried because you look back to DeFi summer, Aave and Uni definitely beat ETH, but then you went
For a time,
then you went to the real bull cycle when we started ripping, and they were like
worthless.
Kind of like, it wasn't a good thing to hold. I held them, and I lost against ETH. So I'm wondering if like should I borrow from the data of the last like 6 to 9 months to inform things I may want to accumulate in the future, or
what data do you have to borrow against?
Well, just like the charts.
What would be relevant?
I'm looking at GMX against ETH, LDO against ETH, RPL against ETH. That's just a short list, right? And I've been noticing that like they're up and down, but they're trending. They've trended up the whole time against ETH. And so that's one thing. It's like maybe I could just take those same coins that have beat ETH and buy more of those. The other thing I'm looking at is, should I pick a narrative like liquid staking and then maybe pick a microcap that might do well when things really take off. So I think Tunsky, you actually posted about Swell. And this might be a little piece of Alfalfa. I have a feeling why you posted it, because in their docs, they don't have a token now. But it's similar to Lido. You lock up some ETH, you get a...
Could you give the audience a little overview of Swell?
Yes. I don't know if there's anything remarkably different than Lido. But you deposit some ETH, you get the liquid staking derivative.
Swell or Swise?
Swell.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because there's also Swise.
Yeah, there's also Swise.
There is, and I think Tunsky tweeted about it a few days ago, and I think David Hoffman is an angel investor in Swell. They don't have a token yet, but in their docs they say early stakers will be rewarded. Tokenomics to come soon. Hint, hint. So maybe a little bit of Alfalfa for testing them out. They're in kind of public beta. They're on mainnet. But anyway, like a token like that, is that more of like a Moonbag thing where it's part of a greater narrative, but it's more probably going to start off on a micro cap? It's going to be like 6th or 7th in the rankings. So I don't know. Those are the two things that are kind of like posing my head. Do I go off the previous coins that have beaten ETH, or should I wait for something new to come? And will that be the thing that kind of moonbags?
Do you guys have any opinions on the LSD or LST, however you want to say it, narrative?
The liquid staking tokens.
Liquid stake. We're pivoting to liquid staking tokens now. I think I still want to call them LSDs.
Yeah.
I don't think they'll do anything.
Yeah,
I think it's all a bunch of short-term hype.
So yeah, but you could play that short term. I think like.
But if the question was Moonbag coin for the next cycle, would it be in there?
I think there's a compelling narrative to believe that it belongs in there. Just that I think that people who look at ETH, who are sort of more mainstream, would look at that and be like, "Ooh, this could be a good opportunity to buy," and then you could basically sell to them.
I was taking a look at Fidelity crypto last night. I did like a deeper dive into it because I was waitlisted for an account.
Yeah, I got their emails too.
Yeah, I got an account a few months ago, opened it up.
What are they doing?
It's there. So very basic. Like you can just buy and sell ETH on there. You can't transfer in, you can't transfer out.
Oh.
But
so it's like early Robinhood days.
Yes, exactly. But they are a broker dealer. Mm-hmm. So if you see litigation against Coinbase, like it's an opportunity for Fidelity or maybe Robinhood to say, well, hey, we have all those like regulatory things in place, and we have a place where you can safely
that's a good point.
Onboard, offboard, and they've had a few research papers come across about staking, and while they haven't even allowed you to transfer in or out crypto, they still have to check that box off. I have a feeling like next year, mid to late next year, they might offer it as a service, take their rake. Seems like a pretty good thing. Anyway, so that narrative might pick up if some of these like institutional broker dealers take it on as like a service.
I'm gonna say something that may shock the audience a lot, but I really agree with Armand here.
Oh, I agree with Armand too. Like on a long-term time horizon, like is there any value accrual that's going to happen to LDO token?
I mean, even like short term, I just think these things are toast. Like I think it is.
Giorgio, please clip that.
I feel like this is one of those.
Play it on repeat in every episode, inject it in every episode 7 times as if you actually said it in real time. Okay, continue, Steven.
I feel like as I was saying this, I just remembered I had a bunch of Lido on my Coinbase.
The reason I
account
knew
that
you
forgot
agreed
about.
with me because the normal face that I see in response to my points is not that face, and this time it was one of very inviting. I concur, good sir.
I mean, let the record show that I don't just disagree with you
for the sake
for
of
the,
the
for the
show.
whole.
Okay,
I,
good.
I just genuinely disagree.
Nick just said that the record
Literally,
does
I'm
show.
surprised there's not like we should make a trailer of you and I just going at it. Like that'd be a good one.
The LSD thing is starting to give me like DeFi vibes. I remember what it was like when DeFi was super hot. A lot of people were like just telling you DeFi's the thing, DeFi tokens are the thing. Ultimately, just go pull up like a maker chart against ETH and just look at that. Like that might be.
Yeah, my
future
take
of a
is
lot of
it's
these
like a
things.
short-term narrative that really works for people that are already in the space, but like long-term, I don't see the narrative playing out to a wider audience. Just to keep it really simple, I don't think that new entrants to the space are going to really care about the various protocols of liquid staking. I think they're going to go to the one where they get the highest reward. What's the interest rate over there at Fidelity, or which one are they giving me? And they're not even going to know through the app that they're using which one they're actually which protocol they're actually utilizing. It'll just be like they're an Argent or they're in their wallet of choice and they're staking and they don't know why. So it's really behind the scenes, not good for the space as a whole, not good for the liquid token space as a whole, liquid staking space as a whole, but more just like the one that ends up winning. And I think me trying to choose the one that ends up winning is a waste of time. So one of them will win, a couple of them will be successful, maybe like a Lyft and an Uber, but Sidecar will die and all the other ones will die and they just won't make it, in my opinion.
I mean, you guys are business owners. You know what it's like to get into a business where your margins are just some race to the bottom and there's no competitive mode.
Yeah, you give out coupons and credits in the beginning to acquire customers.
You inflate your token. You're like, well, our staking is 8% because we're inflating the token, and then you're just relying on the sort of naivete of your token holders to sort of support the price while you do that to acquire customers. But like, I don't know.
We already saw it. I already saw that game. I don't need to see it again.
I think that's what I was going to say. Is like
we ran the show.
The path dependency. DeFi summer did happen. We saw what happened to these DeFi coins. So maybe these like LSTs won't do the same thing. But on the other hand, it's like maybe they freaking will, because we've seen how people just degen into stupid shit regardless of value accrual.
If you ask me to put the management consulting hat back on, Porter's 5 forces, like these business models will suck over time because it will be exactly like you said, a race to the bottom in terms of margins. Who can offer the cheapest, the lowest fees? I still think users will love it.
Sure.
It's gonna be so great for users because you're gonna get lower fees, competition, and you have the ease of use, of everything that you want.
These tokens are complicated though. Like the way the tokens accrue value is pretty complicated. Like
where they don't accrue value.
Or where they don't. Exactly. Like we've talked about this on the pod, and even I've just been sitting there being like, what? Like, so this one accrues value like this one doesn't accrue value like that. So like, I don't know if that equals number go up in the right way for the right tokens.
But hold on, I think we have to say this, like the things that outperformed ETH in the last cycle, a lot of that was stupid shit. And what do you think is going to outperform in the next cycle? Really smart shit that accrues value over a long-term period? No, it's going to be degen stupid shit.
Exactly. Thank you. That pretty much says what
I agree with that. And like liquid staking derivatives are not degen stupid shit. Like I don't see like TikTok investors posting content.
That's what I'm
Twitter
saying. Like no wider market that comes into crypto to adopt like the next thing that they think is going to make them rich is going to go and nerd out and sit next to their friends and be like, it's this liquid staking protocol. No, they're not going to say that. It's going to be like what dog coins were.
I love doing that.
Dog coins or game coins or whatever.
I'm getting 6%.
Like we already have those people. The people that will be entering don't talk like that at all. So they won't be buying that shit. It's almost a certainty.
All right, you guys got what you guys.
I want to talk about your boy Chamath. So he got some good airtime.
Moving on from the moon bag. Sorry.
Yeah, we're moving on. Did you have one?
Sorry, guys, you didn't get my moon bag.
Okay.
I want to hear your moon bag.
Tell me your fucking moon bag.
What do you think I'm really trying to accumulate? Like, if you were to guess,
Solana
right now.
Oh, good question.
It's too different every week. Like, this is a
It
trick
does
question.
change a lot. This one's been in the back of my mind for a bit, though.
So we're talking about like a hodl bag, like
Nick
something.
already guessed it. It's Solana.
Oh.
Good job.
Oh,
Well, there you go. Game over.
I've decided I really like this coin.
So Emma said you were sitting in a Dr. Evil chair, by the way, and just the way you said it, I decided.
Yeah, I think Solana has a lot of interesting stuff going for it. I think for one, the coin is it. We talk about like we want to invest in stuff that people are showing on TikTok, and Solana is like kind of retarded in like a good way. Like people like Solana, it's like meme, like people use it. I think what's really been interesting to me is like watching the NFT stuff happening on Solana.
Mm-hmm.
It's been pretty consistent. I mean, obviously it's taken hit like everything else, but yeah, Chris Berninsky posted an interesting tweet about just like the cost to mint like million NFTs on Solana versus like Ethereum versus like Arbitrum. And it was like $14 million on Ethereum and like $29,000 on Arbitrum and $1,000 on Solana, and posted some links to some interesting products that are doing just mass like NFT, like hundreds of thousands or like millions of, you know, issues, and they're tiny and they're cheap. And I was just like, yeah, you can never do this on ETH. And I feel like, I don't know, I know we have like Immutable X on layer 2, and we've got stuff like Magic and Treasure, and I think those things will get traction. But I don't know, I'm also just debating this narrative, and if anybody has a good counter to this, please let me know. But like the idea that it's just a given that ETH is going to scale on layer 2s. I feel like there's just like this ugly thing with layer 2s that we don't talk about a lot, which is that all of these layer 2s have like a very centralized sequencer, you know, like Arbitrum and Optimism, and like effectively there is like a multi-sig and an admin key. It's controlled by a party, and it does bring into question, like, is Arbitrum just like really a security for that? Like, in decentralizing a sequencer, from what I understand in my newbie research, is like incredibly difficult. It's like almost akin to decentralizing and scaling. Like, so I wonder how much better is this than scaling up the layer 1 like Solana is doing. And I think even if you're sitting out there being like, actually, you know, we have all these kind of nerdy reasons why this won't happen and ETH will win, I still think the narrative will be there, and the narrative will be good enough. And I also think that even if Solana doesn't go back to 220 all-time highs, I kind of feel like 140, 150, 160 is a given. And if you can get this thing at like $10, it's like a 15x, 16x. Like, I'm not trying to get 100x. I want to trade a coin that's relatively safe.
Okay, this is where my mind goes. Can I get my moon back too before we jump? Okay, so
you're a shitter only. So
no, I have like this long-term plan. So I'm very bearish right now, but like I'm a guy who understands that you need a growth engine of your portfolio to make money eventually. I'm not going to get rich off of 5% T-bills. You know, the T-bills are there just to like allow me to buy, you know? So what do I want to buy? I think like when we're talking about crypto only here, like all of these things might do well. I'm ETH. Like ETH is the one I want to own because like I think ETH is going to perform well enough to be a growth engine for me. Like, but I'm looking outside of crypto, not just crypto solely. Like there's a lot of growth developments happening in the world, right? There's like AI, there's AR, VR, there's so many different avenues to invest in. So I'm looking at stocks, I'm looking at NVIDIA. Like what about like, you know, like in business, right? Like not crypto, but like in general business, like the people that are winning tend to continue winning. They have like all these advantages. So I like Microsoft, I like Google, I like NVIDIA, I like Unity, I like a bunch of different growth engines that don't have to be like degen shitcoins necessarily.
I agree with that. I have more stocks on my moon bag than crypto.
Which stocks?
Yeah, which ones?
Like Eric just said a few of them.
Microsoft. NVIDIA?
I still held that.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, it's the one stock other than like I'm still holding like Tesla as far as individual stock ownership. Tesla, Apple, NVIDIA. I mean, NVIDIA has done like a 2000x for me. 20% for me.
Right.
I've been holding a long time, but I love it. And CRISPR is in there. But in terms of, I actually have a couple. So Flow token, if NFTs ever come back and sports actually do something again, I think Flow is great. And Maple Finance. You guys heard
Maple
of that?
Finance.
I've heard
Yeah.
of Maple Finance.
Yeah.
It's
like capital markets, lending, a whole, thing.
I'm going to put that in Eric's bucket of ain't nobody on TikTok showing Maple Finance.
No, but if I just do my chart astrology alone, I like it. Like just based on the chart. Yeah.
Okay. I can't.
Just based on the chart astrology, I really like it. I think we're at like $6-7 right now. I want to say it was at 70 all-time high. So, there's a bunch of tokens like that I've been eyeing that are basically down 90-95% that I will gamble to see if they can beat ETH. That's basically my plan.
Gamble's good.
It's a gamble.
Yeah.
But like I'm still going to go 90% ETH for the next bull run, for sure. There's no sense not to.
Like, let's say you clip ETH at 1,000. Like, what's your projected return? Is it like 10x?
That's the thing.
8x,
It's not worth the risk. And also, we don't have enough data to show. Like, if there was like a new narrative that really was like, whoa, there's going to be widespread adoption here, and I could see this beating ETH next cycle, then that's a different story. But I don't see it. I don't see it in gaming. I don't see it in. Definitely don't see it in DeFi. Definitely don't see it in liquid staking. I don't see it yet. So if we see something. It could be gaming. I think there's a lot of AI gaming right now that is starting to take off, but it depends on what people do.
I love that.
I've never even heard of
AI is, I think, actually going to be a good narrative.
A huge narrative and a big catalyst for the space, actually.
By the way, I had another incident with true fans will recall how I speculated that the Render token might be a sleeper back in January when everything was dead, and they promptly did like a 3x in a couple of months. I actually set some limits to buy it the other day, like 140s, 150 range, and it almost hit it. And I woke up today and it was like 235. Like that.
Damn, it pumped again.
It is a beast. So I might have to pick up some of that if I ever get a pullback. But I don't like chasing these things. But I think that will be a good narrative, and I can actually see some ways that like crypto and AI are going to interface in a way. There's going to be a lot of attempts, I think, to censor AI, to sort of like put like a lid on it in particular ways. And I think crypto may offer an opportunity for those who don't want to do that. And I think it's going to be like an interesting narrative / battle actually over the coming years. So anything else that fits into that bucket, send it my way.
Well, before we get into a little regulation talk, I like that the chat is recognizing the 5th member of the podcast.
Chat's popping.
Eric's mustache. It's got a few call-outs.
I was laughing.
He said it was amazing. And Rectum said, make sure we don't let Eric hear school site.
I haven't said a word today. It's just been the mustache talking.
Dude, I want it to grow into like a whole like Marlboro Man sort of theme is what I'm thinking. I'm thinking you just go more deep into the Wyoming.
Yeah. I'll show up with cowboy boots on or something.
It's totally you.
Yeah, piece by piece.
Totally you.
Bass Pro Shops hat on. That's a key piece of your.
Yeah.
By the way, I am dying in here.
It's
so
hot.
I'm trying not to move so that
we didn't think through the ventilation in the studio. It's about 97 degrees.
It's so warm. Wait for
it's not even summer yet. I'm honestly going to flop sweating.
I got a plan.
You got a plan?
All right. I'm sure you have a product for this.
I hope so.
We do, actually.
Okay.
It's a portable AC unit.
Is it a no noise making AC unit?
I don't know.
Okay, we're gonna find out.
It's one of the reasons why we didn't go buy a bunch of furniture just yet. Believe in the MVP model.
Yeah, if you have suggestions,
see some flaws in the studio business model.
I would love some suggestions from the community for what we should do with this setup. So obviously, all this is going to go. This is just like our V1. We're definitely not going to sit in
Dr. Evil chairs,
in desk chairs. We got like desk chairs and like a really kind of nasty sofa with no art on the walls, but. Yeah.
The chat did say I should sell the podcast piece of art on a subscription, like a lease situation. Kind of like their suggestion.
Art on a subscription.
Donate for like right here. Just small $39 a month subscription.
Okay.
It's gonna be great. It's gonna be great for your art.
It's cool
business.
because you pay for that.
Oh, shit.
So let's pivot into the last part of this money episode.
Yeah, let's just. I think we should probably just skip over the regulatory stuff. We'll just hit them with the
Yeah, it's more just
crypto
this theme, this narrative of like, is crypto dead in America?
I guess it ties in.
Yeah,
let's go.
yeah. Feel free to brush over. Yeah.
I mean, it will feel like it if Coinbase does get an SEC lawsuit that's specific to the fact that in order to be an exchange that sells securities, you need to be a broker dealer. I forget the other ones. You need to, the custodian needs to be separate and the clearinghouse needs to be separate. I forget the exact, there's 3 components that have to be separate entities. It will feel like that if they do get a lawsuit like that. And obviously, I think Coinbase announced a derivatives platform overseas. So it's starting to feel like that already. So, but it definitely will feel like that if Coinbase gets a little paper.
So if Coinbase does get smacked like that, the stock price is going to tumble. Like, is that maybe a time to buy in your eyes?
I think so, because I still think it'll trade according to the asset prices it holds, or that you're allowed to trade on the platform. I mean, you kind of have to like discount some future opportunity, but yeah, I would still buy.
I mean, we
It
kind of
would
talked
feel like
about
peak
it, right?
fear, right? Because you want to buy when peak fear, and if they did get a lawsuit and it said, "Hey, you need to divide up into 3 different entities in order to sell what we think are securities on your platform," sounds like peak fear to me. And if we're taking risky bets anyway, so like, why not?
Yeah, this is a question I had in the Coinbase episode, right? Like, let's check that thinking. The question was like, there's regulatory risks coming, and I remember asking you specifically, Eric. It was like, do you step up at that time of peak fear, and when the smackdown happens and the stock price tumbles, how much of a discount are you getting versus how much does this company actually lose in maximum value that it could have accrued long term as a result of this? And most everyone was like, it's temporary hiccup in the road, like, don't worry about it. Do you still feel that way?
So I've started digging deep, and I tried to value this asset actually, and try to get an intrinsic value of what this thing generates in terms of cash flows. And it's hard because it's so volatile. In the peak of the bull run, it generated $10 billion of operating cash in 1 year, and that's its entire market cap basically. So I think it's cheap, even now, but I do think that all of these headwinds will make it cheaper. So when do I buy it? I don't know. It's kind of like, how greedy do I want to get?
When you think of American crypto, what other company comes to mind other than Coinbase?
FTX.
Is that it? Because I actually couldn't think of a second, immediately off the top of my head.
Probably just Robinhood.
Okay.
Yeah, it's.
Yeah, I mean,
It's
to
not
the
good.
average person, actually, I think Robinhood more than Coinbase. Like, to the average non-crypto person.
That could be right.
Let's get to the brass tacks. Like, are we? Is it dead? Is it over? Like, I'm feeling bad this week because I've had yet another exchange shut down, and I'm basically throwing in the towel on trading crypto.
It feels dead. It feels dead, and it feels like it's going to even die further. Like, I feel like we're going to be talking about this, months from now, and be like, "Whew, now it's really dead."
Yeah, I kind of agree with you. I feel like they didn't get to this point only to just be like, "Yeah, all right,
Yeah, that's good enough.
Fucking with you.
Yeah.
You can get up
You're
now."
free to go.
So I do feel like there's going to be some sort of kill shot at some point, and whether or not it's actually a kill shot or just temporary.
See, this drives me nuts. This is the true test. That's the moment where you see a kill shot, and you're going to have to determine, is that thing dead? Like, zero pulse, not coming back? Or is this just like previous cycles, and this is where I make my move?
I mean,
that's the question.
I really want to know the timing of this thing. I was trying to look back, and if anyone in the audience knows this, I would love to know the data. I was trying to look back at the date that Ripple received their Wells notice and the date the lawsuit actually showed up to try to understand, when should we expect this coming
Sure,
up?
ChatGPT could answer that.
I already asked
3
it.
seconds. No, didn't work.
It's also a different process, though, I think, between Coinbase and Ripple. I think Coinbase is going straight to the appellate courts. There's not going to be any discovery process. This whole thing could be over in a matter of months, actually. versus Ripple, which has been
Well,
going on for
their
years.
lawsuit to the SEC went straight to the appellate courts. But do you think?
Oh, you're talking about this?
I'm talking about SEC
Oh.
suing Coinbase.
I see.
Like, I want to know what the timing is of when that could potentially drop. Not that I'm a trader or anything. But I just would like to know.
I'm not a lawyer. I know I LARP as a lot of things on this podcast, but lawyer, not a lawyer, so I couldn't tell you. But yeah, I mean, I guess this is like our question last week. Are you optimistic on the future? But like, are you optimistic on the future of crypto in America?
I mean, to get into the brass tacks, I think one of the questions is if America doesn't have an easy on-ramp, I mean, I guess they'll still have Robinhood, they'll still have Fidelity. I'm sure there'll be plenty of other players, but like, if it isn't Coinbase as an on-ramp, is the rest of the globe big enough to hit our price targets?
Whew.
I'd like to think so.
What? No,
No?
not our which price targets.
I don't know.
Everything takes a huge haircut, like for sure.
You think so?
How could it not? Yeah. You
I don't know. Like price is determined at the margins. So like, if I think we've seen that like Asia in general is able to push prices up, and I think people will shuffle around their funds to get access to the asset they want somehow. I don't know. What do you?
Maybe, but this is like the whole dollar milkshake theory, where you're like, yeah, even if the dollar does go down, like at first, the path is that it goes up, because then the chaos that ensues, that's what will happen. So I think even if you do assume that all these things are true, that will route around the US, that people get their money out, and I think all those things are true in the long run. I don't think crypto's dying. I think even if the US just like absolutely tries to nuke it, it will ultimately stay around. But like, yeah, I think you're naive if you think that price isn't going to go in the absolute toilet in the meantime. And that will be your buy. It feels like every cycle gives you this like opportunity to buy where it doesn't feel at all like
and you're not going to want to. That's the hard.
Yeah, like
hard
FTX
part.
felt like that a little bit, but even FTX to me did not feel anything like 2-digit ETH in like 2018. Like that was just like
this is dead.
This is dead. Even Bitcoin, like COVID, when that thing was like, what did it go down to? Like
4K, 3K.
Yeah, it was like in the threes. It was absolutely tanking. I was sitting there and I didn't buy. I was just like, maybe that was a scam. Maybe this.
So for me, when that happened in 2018 or whatever, like I had been a crypto naysayer that entire time leading up to that. And when that happened, I was thinking like, I was feeling kind of validated.
Right.
But when it came back, that's when I told myself, I was like, oh, this literally won't die. Like it can't die. So if we see that time again, I'll be ready. Like I know I won't be like, oh, it's dead. Like I know.
And what made you think that exactly? This feeling that this thing can't die?
Oh, because it wouldn't. It was like a cockroach in a nuclear explosion. It's just like just wouldn't die. And I thought it was so stupid to begin with, because I was like an outsider, right? I didn't do the research. I was looking at it. I was like, this is.
But the risks and pressure that exists today did not exist back then. It died for a different reason.
It'd be a different narrative. But I think, this thing has just proven itself resilient to me.
I do have some faith. There are some like American values that I think will persist, even if they don't persist in the short run. Privacy, individual sovereignty, free markets, like those things will, I think, on the longer run live out. So I'm not like, bearish on it. It could happen to Coinbase and they have some issues, but I do think those things will live out in the long run.
Cautiously optimistic.
Sure.
I like it.
Yeah.
I think in America, it's important to note that like we are basically schizophrenic. Like every 4 years, we just like elect somebody from the other team, and something that you thought was like previously unthinkable just like a couple of years ago is now the complete opposite. If you look back in time, just a few years, and you think about some stuff, you'd be like, oh wow, that really took a left turn super quickly. So I think this will pass. I think any of the pain is an opportunity. It might be really painful, but I am optimistic on the future, and I will leave it there.
Oh, that's pretty. I like that.
Wow, that's a great accent.
Yeah. Who do you hear? Donkey? Or was it more like...
I heard more like a fat bastard.
Okay, fat bastard.
Yeah. I like that call.
I'll take a dump on your chest. Oh, God, I didn't know that was coming out. So we're gonna take a break.
Take a little breather.
If you're on the pod, you'll get another episode. If you're here live, we love you. Thanks for being here. We're gonna go and do a biological break and re-up the drinks.
I need more of these tasty Modelo.
Air
Stop
myself
sweating for
out.
a second.
And we're coming back with what?
Armand's going to tell us how much he loves Tucker Carlson, I think.
Right. We're coming back with a little bit of culture, politics, Tucker Carlson, and will AI make us smarter or dumber? I'm actually excited for that one. So
That's a good.
we're going to leave this. Yeah, we're going to leave this rolling.
Yeah, we're not leaving.
We're not leaving.
We're not
I'm gonna
leaving.
get some whiskey.
We're taking a break.
We're going to check the computer. We're going to talk to you. We're going to chat. And if you're here for the pod, listening, you need to come to the YouTube. If you're on the YouTube, we love you guys. Give us a little thumbs up. Share this thing out there, and let's make this a weekly hang. We're excited to make this. We're excited to make this a regular thing. All right, guys.
Be back in 10.
Be right
Be back
back.
in
Peace.
We really do need like a little waiting transition thing.
Yeah, we'll
with
get
some
one.
elevator music.
We'll get one. We'll use Restream or whatever.
Let me grab these empties.
Yeah, it would be sick if we had a little, like what you call it, like a countdown.
Just stand right in front of it and flex.
Just number.
Make a T-shirt that says "Be right back" and just stand in front of it.
Oh, shit. Hope I didn't break anything. All right, I'm going to run a test while the boys are doing their things. I want to see if camera 3 is working. It's not working on our side. Oh, wow. That definitely did not work. Okay. Camera 3 is not working. Wow, there's a weird fade. What did I do?
I mean, it's just the only dedicated. I mean, where else I guess would be the question.
Don't tell me when I did that.
No, I don't think we considered here. That would be a bad space. I don't know why we consider that. So
Okay.
it's pretty tight. We'll consider that table. Maybe you can go long ways, you know.
Let's see what happens if I do this. Oh, that's so weird.
Wow. I don't think we considered that. Nick.
Armand, I fucked something up.
What happened?
No, I mean, it's fine, but look what happens when you switch cameras. Woo!
Oh, what the hell?
I don't know.
Oh,
How do I do that?
that's it. Hey, why didn't we consider, like, have we thought that room could be possible?
Too small.
Is it?
I mean, we could do it in the art studio.
Are you sure it is?
Yeah, I think so.
You know what's great about the art studio? First of all, could we actually? Because it's pretty crazy in there. What I love about the art studio is how crazy it is. It's the perfect backdrop. We don't need anything. We would just sit some chairs down, and that would be it. You know? Are you sure? Like, we fully looked at that room and considered?
I mean, we can definitely relook.
Let me just show you what I mean. Have we considered this room? First of all, air conditioning. Secondly, like, what if the shot was just what if we were at the table?
Everybody you guys all walk out like, oh, yeah, little shining. How's the running going? Good. Did today. I'm trying to do it every day too.
Well, you know, we saw
All right.
we got
I'm doing it every day. I'm doing it every day. I'll trade it up, but yeah, I'm running club today at 6:30, so I'll be here in like 10 minutes.
How far are you guys going?
6.5 or 3.5. I mean, that's still pretty far. Just a little over 5. Well, that's good. Yeah, I'd say it's good. Yeah. Yeah, and they stopped like 3 or 4 times, putting on the stoplights to let people catch her. But yeah. Sometimes it's like 60. Yeah. That's very helpful. Yeah. It's not bad. Saturday mornings, the run is like 3.8 miles, so it's a little bit longer. Most. But it's at 8:30 in the morning, so.
Sometimes you don't make out.
I'll go on my own and undivided. You know, something like that.
So the other option is like here. No, actually that doesn't work. These rooms are
Totally.
Our studio doesn't have air conditioning.
does it?
No. It has lots of fans. I think what we do is get a fan here, back here, and literally go.
You gotta close the door.
That's fine. Oh shit, where are I taking my whiskey?
No, I mean we have to have the door closed.
Not all the time.
Well,
You can leave the door open now. Now they pull the door.
Oh yeah, I won't be talking to myself.
So those little AC units don't do anything?
No.
They
No. Trust me.
So, only the chat saw this, but I kind of knocked over that little board over there.
Oh yeah, how'd that go?
I might have pressed a button that makes a weird fade when we switch cameras.
Oh, just hit the cut button.
okay, you hit the cut button.
I read the instruction manual.
I want to join you.
That's good stuff.
What do you got there? Oh, Nika coffee.
Yeah,
Love that.
So somebody had mentioned like try the malt instead of the grain, and there it is.
that's the malt. You just wish
Kind of
it.
want to compare.
Alcohol is part of our rich life here in the office.
Okay.
Yeah, back to your money episode.
Your office has so much alcohol, by the way. It's
Does it?
Our rich life includes sushi,
Right.
alcohol, business trips, and salaries. Our rich life does not
Salaries.
include. Our rich life does not include an ice maker.
Yeah.
And for some reason, this building doesn't have air conditioning in this room.
just this
only.
one room.
This one room.
What's going on here?
Splash this up.
Let me see the chat here.
Oh my God. So one thing I noticed is that a couple times I lost track of the buttons, like the 1s and 2s.
Yeah.
And it was always when I was trying to read the chat.
Yeah, I noticed you'd lose track, and I was like, I wonder what's causing.
Yeah. Well, I saw
I
that.
was like, I couldn't even get it right once though.
Like they're not good at multitasking.
No, Eric's the best multitasker.
I
here.
just can't be reading the chat. I realized.
Me, I am the world's.
I realized I can't be reading chat. I got to focus.
Yeah, dude. If I was the one on the cameras, you guys would hurt me. Like it'd be that bad. It'd be like. It'd be really bad.
So Max made a comment we should check out. He said, you can't compare the quality of a recorded podcast with this live stream audio. The recorded podcast will sound much better. So we'll see.
Who said that?
Max in the chat.
He said the quality will be much better recorded.
Yeah, he said, it sounds like what he's saying is that the recorded podcast audio is better than the live
Is-
stream.
is-
So we'll see.
From an audio perspective?
Yeah, audio.
Meaning we should record it separate anyway.
No, you know what
I
I
mean, we
think,
are.
Steven?
We are.
The whole new thing that we did with the audio, we have not tested that, where the audio is going into the roadcaster.
Oh, yeah, maybe that's it.
We don't even know what is driving the volume level. Like, we should ask people if it's loud enough, first of all. Like, what dictates the volume?
The roadcaster.
So if I turn that up, like that should,
Yeah, Max, we are for sure.
is that the difference?
Well, Calcium, I don't know if he's still in here, but Calcium mentioned that there was something weird with my mic, that it was like, if I went like this, it was the same volume as if I talked right here.
Seems like a feature.
Yeah, maybe.
Well, what we didn't do is compare the USB thing to this thing. I think we can fix it.
We'll figure it out. We let everybody know this is very
Dude,
this is very alpha.
as long as like the audio is okay.
Someday we will all laugh about this.
Oh, for sure. So,
I'm gonna wear a tank top next week.
Tight shorts, short shorts.
yeah, I think Emma was the one that was saying that whiskey's really good.
I love Nika personally.
I didn't know how good it was.
Oh, it's great.
Pretty impressive. I want to do a side by side though with
making everything.
Oh, they're the best.
Everything. It's like unbelievable.
The only thing they're not good at is sex. No, that's just statistically. Like they're literally they suck at it.
Like reproducing.
They're like in last place. Yeah, them in
Okay.
Korea.
That's a
They're
different.
not reproducing.
Yeah, they're not fucking
Maybe they're fucking, but then they're just they're not reproducing.
pulling out.
Well, I've managed to not reproduce.
I don't know. I think they're workaholics, right? I don't think they're doing anything. I don't think they're having sex.
Maybe not.
All right.
What if they're just all the way in with the robots already? I think that's because aren't they pretty into the robots and dolls?
As a white guy in America, yeah, definitely.
Um,
I can say without a shadow of a doubt that the Japanese love fucking robots.
I like Bandit in here because he just snipes at us in the comments every YouTube, being like, "You idiots, just DCA ETH."
Oh yeah, that's
That's
our boy.
Oh, I know you, buddy.
That's what's up. What's up, dude?
He said, "What up, crypto
What up,
doomers?"
crypto doomers?
Yeah.
Could we be are we the most bearish semi-crypto podcast?
I would love that crown.
We are the most bearish podcast.
No, you don't want that crown.
No.
You want the most.
Rational.
Most
Rational.
honest. We're the most radically moderate.
How about the one that makes the most money?
No, we're definitely not the most bearish.
Anyway,
Well-
Bandit, I love the comments.
If you guys would stop holding down our average, I'm making more money than Chama, so you guys gotta pick it up a little bit.
Oh,
All right, should we kick off this?
wonder if Bandit listened to the episode.
I think he came in late.
I think he came in late.
This is really fun hanging out with everybody in the
This is
chat.
way better.
I do want to get my dream setup would be if we could get like a TV with just like the chat just on there. And
Yeah.
then I could just
Yeah, well, I got to get this away from me because I'm finding myself
Which
distracted.
camera is that? Wait. Is that camera going to work with the door like that?
Sure
Alright,
does.
Somebody wanted to know what we're drinking.
It sure does.
It's the Nika coffee
Yeah.
whiskey. It doesn't
Yeah.
show. Armand.
No, that's pretty.
hey,
You
no
can see
free sponsorships on this podcast.
You can say it. Nika Coffee Malt Whiskey. Very good Japanese whiskey.
No, it's great whiskey. Buy it.
Yeah, we are drinking out of paper cups, Chris. That's a fact.
Maybe as part of our.
Studio V1 includes the cups.
Are we going to bring our
V1
own
cups.
very heavy Scotch
Someday
glasses?
we're gonna
I actually
have very
since I
nice
work out of this
tumblers
office,
I have it on my vision board.
I have a glass cup, but I don't want to shame you guys with it, so I didn't.
Oh, thank you.
Thank
man.
you.
Yeah,
That
yeah.
would have felt
Appreciate it.
so poor.
Oh, man.
Are we ready?
Yeah. Should we do some sort of like intro for the?
Yeah.
You got it handled.
Yeah, because it's a.
I assume
it's gonna
this
go to
won't
the
be
pod.
on the produced version.
Oh no, I'm keeping all this.
Yeah, you got to come live to get the behind the scenes action.
Yeah, exactly.
This is just for the live people.
Cool. Tucker, this is serious. Let's get serious.
Surreal.
Should I do more Arnold accents?
You should
Probably.
do
That
all
was
your
good.
accents.
That
Whenever you
did-
do an
that was
Arnold
good for
accent,
the
we get like
algo.
50 subscribers, so we just
Yeah,
keep firing them off.
that video did well. All right, let's do it. So, for the community, the audience out there, we're digging into. I'm actually curious. I think we should try to bring up more stuff people say from the chat
We will.
in this episode. So you guys keep an eye.
This is the life.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Alfalfa podcast. We're live on YouTube. Thanks for being here, those of you that are. 4:30 on Wednesdays. It's happening. V1 of the podcast. Steven's designing our grand vision. How's that coming along, Steven?
I've decided that we need chairs.
Oh,
So
that desk chair isn't cutting it for you?
no, I feel like super. I don't know. Feels like.
You want to say poor?
It's
I was literally like in my head. I was like, "Don't say poor. Don't say poor."
It's
don't say
ghetto.
poor."
I thought the
This
robot
is
was
a
having trouble
super-
describing.
Oh,
feelings.
you went with the G word. Okay, good luck with the
The
comments on
G
that
word?
one, buddy.
Oh my
Oh,
god. This
God.
is okay. Hold on. Let me back the truck up on this.
I fully denounce this man and everything he's just said.
This is the most ghetto setup ever, and I have no problem saying that. For the record, I'm from Sacramento. I've been saying that my whole life, so
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that.
there's nothing wrong
All
with
right, as
saying
long as you establish your.
As a white male, I can
Oh,
see how
fine.
you're afraid of that.
that. Sir, Stephen, there are things that I can say on your behalf if you would
I
like.
would like the audience to remember that I am 12.5% Native American. I am-
Uh-huh.
So
That doesn't help you, dude.
part of me is the most oppressed on this podcast. So just remember the hierarchy.
Oh my god. All right, hierarchy of oppression, which we're very big on here. Now, so we're talking. Wow, funny topic that we're talking about today. We're talking about a man who is infamous for not standing up for the oppressed, for being a racist, for being a misogynist. Tucker Carlson, everybody. Tucker Carlson.
Are you calling Tucker a racist?
I did not say that. What did I say? Repeat the tape. I said a man who has been labeled these things.
You said he's famous for it.
He's famous for. I said he's notorious for these things. And to another huge cohort of people, he's a hero. He is the most important thing that has happened in network television for a long time, arguably since Bill O'Reilly on Fox News. He's got a huge cult following, and funny enough, he was fired from Fox News, apparently with very little warning, on the day or the evening before he went live. And it's just not the same. I mean, if you look at Twitter right now and you follow along with Vivek was going to be going to Fox News last night, and all the comments were like, dude, Fox is dead. We're not coming. Like, no one's going to watch this shit anymore. So Tucker is taking his audience with him. Fox has made a very intentional and calculated decision, and we're going to break down all of that. And then we're going to do the second half talking about, is AI making us smarter or dumber? All four of us are experimenting with playing with AI on a probably daily basis. And I think we're going to try to future pace this into the utility that this has in the future and what that might look like as a human being if you're extremely dependent on it. Does it make you better, faster, smarter, or just completely the opposite? So, yeah.
I'm curious, which of us have watched Tucker on some frequency level? Because I don't watch cable news in general, so I've seen a few clips here and there, but I'm just curious. Has anyone watched him at least once a
I'll
month?
start.
That
I'll
was going
start.
to be my question.
I know that was. I know this is because I want to bring this
that's a
to
good
you,
question.
We
Steve.
should claim our biases up front.
I have not sat through more than my cumulative Tucker time is literally probably 1 hour. And I don't think I've ever sat and listened to one of his entire segments in one sitting, ever.
Nick, what about you? Where are you at?
I've never seen a whole show.
You guys
start to
didn't
front.
even watch some Tucker in
No.
preparation for this?
30 minutes of the hour came before for this episode.
I guess I'm the resident Tucker fanboy. I mean, to answer your question, I would guess I've probably watched one episode of his per month for the last couple of years. So not a lot, but I feel like I understand him and I understand the show and I understand the shtick and everything. So I guess we'll have to talk about it.
Well, we'll have to lean on you for the more nuanced questions then. What about you, Eric?
Dude, I haven't watched mainstream news, cable news. I haven't watched 30 minutes of cable news in 10 years.
But a lot of his clips are online. Are you exposed at least to Tucker and a little
Is
bit?
your algorithm feeding you Tucker?
No, should I just excuse myself?
Okay, so you're at a 0. We're at a level 1, and Steven's a level 6. All right, we got this. So
6 is probably high, but I'm probably about 4, I think. Yeah.
I think the basis of your question is that a ton of people judge this man and are ready to put labels on him, as I alluded to, without ever having sat through and given him a chance. What have you learned by giving him a chance, even at a level, whatever you want to call it? Who is he really to you? What does he stand for? What is he all about? Is he actually the guy that the rest of the media makes him out to be? Is he a man who caused extreme polarization and distrust amongst society and is responsible for some atrocities, let alone, all these other things? Or is he actually kind of a hero, or is he just something in between? Like, what do you see?
I don't know, like I think Tucker is interesting. Regardless of whether you agree with him or not, or you agree with him on some things, or like, this is another thing I think is interesting about people. It's like they have to either hate a person and thus hate everything that they've ever said or that they stand for, or they have to love the person and defend everything that they've ever said and that they stand for. And like, I don't buy into that. Like, I think Tucker says a lot of things that I agree with. I think he said some stuff I don't agree with. And I think as a general rule, if your impression of somebody is basically the clips that are fed to you on social media that are like carefully clipped and edited and filtered through, like when you talk about people who are on the air for like an hour every day for years, right? Like, it's not hard to imagine that you can take something and craft a narrative out of it. If you just need to grab like 30 seconds of like 100 hours or 1,000 hours of somebody's content, you can like make whatever you want.
Dude,
right?
I could make you look pretty bad.
Oh
I'm
yeah,
actually
like,
working
if
on it
anybody
right
out there were to
already.
clip this pod,
I'm working on it.
This is why I'm glad we don't have like, 10,
My plan
if we had
is-
10 million listeners. I'd be.
Do you guys know what my plan is?
I'd be done.
My plan is to cancel us before anyone does. So I've been working on all of your worst takes. Everything you've ever said, like every time Steven says the R word, every time I say ghetto, I'm working on a montage, and I'm just going to cancel us, and then no one will have a chance.
Can I ask a simple, like a novice question about Tucker or just news in general? So I watch CNBC, and what I see there, right, you have the anchors, like the hosts of the show, and those guys are reading the teleprompter. There's not really they're not giving any takes really that are theirs. Like, is Tucker's show more like that, where he's like reading the news, or is it more like Alfalfa, where he's like
he's an opinion guy, and he's interesting because his takes are like Fox for the most part. Like, and I'll distinguish between Fox News and Fox Opinion because they're different. Like, I think the news desk is it's different than the opinion desk.
Yeah.
For the most part on Fox Opinion, I feel like you have like these like sort of Sean Hannity types. And I find them to be like very cringy, like super establishment. Like, there's nothing interesting being said there. What made Tucker sort of interesting was that he was like sort of very anti-establishment. I think people want to put everybody who has like an R or a D in front of their name in this box or that box. Tucker is super, I guess you'd say, super populist.
Yeah.
Like, I listened to like one of the more interesting interviews I ever listened to. There was an interview between him and like Ben Shapiro. They both have like an R in front of their name, right? But like Ben is like a very, I don't know, I feel like he's kind of like establishment, free market Republican, blah blah blah. And like Tucker just has like idea, like he's like, we should use the government to control the market in this way, and war is fucking stupid, and I hate war, and like so he has interesting takes from time to time, and I think he speaks to like a part of the country that the rest of their broadcast doesn't really speak to. Like, one of the interesting things about Tucker is like he actually had a huge following of like young Democrats, like a huge following. I mean, he had a huge following in general. Like, people should understand, like, he was the biggest guy in all of cable.
Number one,
like 3.8 million or something viewers, I think.
meaning like all talk show personalities. He's number one.
It's like crazy.
CNBC gets like 50,000 viewers,
Yeah.
but they're very high value users. Tucker, multiple millions.
So can I be like the Cavs back in the day, just firing LeBron? It's like, who else is on your team? It's like it's like crazy.
Can I ask a stupid question?
Yeah.
Why did he get fired if he's got all this following and he seems to be like a guy who is populist that can be popular?
I've been tinfoiling in the Discord.
Okay.
It's not super tinfoily. I mean, there's
Could be.
rumblings. There's like rumblings
Could
happening.
be.
So, like Murdoch, right? Rupert Murdoch, the owner of Fox, is very well known that like he hated Tucker. And a bunch of stuff came out so there's been this lawsuit with the Dominion voting in Fox News. I think they just had to pay like $700 million or some crazy amount because they basically just knowingly just spread a bunch of election voting fraud propaganda. And a lot of the stuff that came out in Tucker's emails was like kind of funny.
In text messages.
Yeah, his text messages. Like in Tucker's text messages, like he was basically like, I fucking hate Trump.
He was shitting on
demonic.
his colleagues, his
He's like,
bosses.
he's like, I hate Trump. He's like, the bosses are too. He said they're just destroying the credibility of Fox, which is true. Although you can certainly argue that
credibility was gone long before that shit.
But not for like 3 million people though.
Yeah,
but he was like a cancer within that organization, and it's funny because from the outside, people are just like, "Oh, Fox, RE, whatever." It's just like lump everything together. Those are all the bad people. They're all the same. But actually, when you break it down, there's these like factions within it. Like it's sort of like Tucker is in this kind of like wing of the party, which again I would say is like the populist wing. You know, JD Vance is like I think a popular guy who's kind of in that wing. I would say Trump is a bit of a populist. He's not like a really Milton Friedman type, you know. And there is that kind of interesting battle going on in the Republican Party between these sort of traditionalists, the free market types, and like the populist wing. And I think that's actually what's the most interesting part of the Republican Party these days is like there is like a debate happening there. There is a debate happening about like the role of government. Should we use government to like enforce culture in a way? Should we control the free market? Should we not ship jobs overseas? Like, should we do this? Like, and I think that's like an interesting debate to have. Like, it's not just all about, no, government's small, no, all free market's good, everything like that's being had there. And I don't see the same thing happening on the other side to the same degree. So I don't like see that like interesting debate, but I'm like really into that intellectual debate about like the exact role of government. Like, can you be on the right, but also believe there is a role of government to play in doing this, and also be like super anti-establishment at the same time, which like he is, and which a guy like JD Vance is.
Yeah, I mean we've mentioned the Political Compass before. It's a site you can go take. Like it's like a 60-question test. And what I like about it, which is what Steven says, is that there's left, right, but then there's another axis, which is I think authoritarian and libertarian. And people often say we have two parties in the country, but I think you've said this before in previous podcasts, there's actually four, right? You have the left authoritarian, left libertarian, and where, you know, Tucker and who did you have the conversation with that you mentioned? Ben Shapiro. They're kind of opposite sides, but still on the R side of the equation. So like, I don't know, if you're interested in taking that test, I highly recommend it. It takes like 10, 15 minutes, and we've all done it together, and we've seen how we compare with each other.
We seem to be similar across the board.
Yeah, a little too similar.
Yeah.
We thought Steve was going to be the righty of the group, but
He was the most left.
we were actually.
But I think
Pretty
it's
center.
because he saw that coming, and so
Yeah, he just like counter to that.
he's
You're
always
right.
one step ahead.
I cheated on the test.
I mean, that's not right.
Can
So
we talk about the little business aspect of his firing? Because I find it a little interesting.
so
So-
dig in.
So Tucker, I think, is like making out like a bandit right now. Like there's been videos of him floating around. He's just driving around a golf cart with his kids, like waving, having a
Probably got a
great
huge
time.
severance, right?
No, he's still under contract. Like from what I saw, they're paying him, I think, $1.8 million a month, and he has anywhere from 1 to 3 years left on the contract. So he's just just chilling right
No,
He's
now.
still getting paid the same contract.
Yeah.
as after work.
That's how those contracts
Yeah.
work. Like,
I thought it was like a baked-in severance. Like, hey, if we fire you,
Well, here's the thing. I
severance.
think from Fox's perspective, they could maybe enforce like the non-compete elements of it as long as they keep paying him, and maybe like 1.8 million a month to them is like whatever. But like,
What does that non-compete mean? Does that
Like he
probably
can't go
don't
work
know.
somewhere else. He's under
Yeah,
contract.
but could he work independently? Like,
Probably not.
No, because
Probably not.
one of the things I was going to mention about the business of Fox is that they were tying him in as the lead hook for their subscription business. They have a subscription business that includes like separate podcasts and separate content. I don't know what it's called, but they have like a direct to consumer subscription for the content. What I also find interesting about Tucker's business is that he was the most popular cable host, but his revenue was way under indexed. So a lot of advertisers straight up said, we're not going to advertise on his show. So just because he brought in a lot of people doesn't necessarily mean Fox was like making out on his show. In fact, they're probably missing out on a lot of revenue if they put just a standard mannequin in
that's
there.
a very important nuance.
Yeah. Also, he did bring in a young demographic, and apparently, companies like Fox get paid by the cable companies for being part of the bundle.
Yeah.
So ESPN back in the day used to get paid pretty big bucks to be part of the bundle.
Before they became their own like network, basically.
Yeah, well, when they were their network, but they just kind of like faded off. Like no one's watching like full SportsCenter episodes anymore. But apparently Fox was getting paid like a couple bucks a subscription. So they're getting a pretty fat rip off every cable subscription for being part of there, because the cable network thought that they were like, part of the hook for subscribing to your $60 a month package. And I think like Tucker may have been like part of the leverage in those negotiations, say like, well, we bring this large of an audience. Sure, we're not making as much advertising money as we should be, but like, you should pay us $2 because of the pure audience. So I don't know, there's three components. Is like the advertising, the rip they're making from the cable companies, and then their subscription. He was, two of those three pillars.
So back to you on the question, like, okay, he's obviously a critical factor here. What are they going to do without him, and why did they do it? Like,
I mean,
how does this back out?
Yeah, first of all, this seems like if anyone watches Succession on HBO, and
this is the best show
literally
ever.
Succession
it's
right
so
now.
fucking good.
Damn it.
It's literally a scene out of
I
it's a
feel
whole
out of the loop
episode.
on this.
It's a whole episode out of
Because
Succession.
Murdoch has a son too.
Lachlan.
Yeah, who apparently really likes Tucker.
Oh my god, it's
And then
exactly
they put out a
like
thing
Succession.
saying like, no, actually, this was Lachlan's decision, but it like clearly wasn't. And Rupert hates Tucker. Apparently, the woman Rupert used to be married to or dating like kind of liked Tucker too, and he like punted her to the curb. So it's like a whole lot
Is Succession like the corporate version of like House of Cards? Like,
I feel like Succession isn't Succession like literally inspired by Fox News?
Oh yeah.
Oh,
it's
and
Rupert Murdoch.
Murdoch.
Yeah.
It's like the like
damn.
kids are exactly
Good
the
show.
same. There's two, sons that are part of the business. There's a daughter. There's a son that literally has no part in the business at all. It's matched one by one. The storylines obviously are like, they take a lot of poetic license with it. But still, it's pretty on.
I wanted to actually, now that you brought that up, I wanted to change my answer on best show of all time. I said Game of Thrones before. It's Succession.
What the fuck?
Whoa!
Get the fuck out.
Yes, it's that good.
Your best show of all time.
It's that good.
All right, I'm ready. I'm literally writing it down.
No, the acting is
Literally
pretty. Acting's pretty phenomenal. And
It's
Really?
incredible.
And obviously, the whole concept of the show is like, hey, Papa is going to die at some point, and Rupert hasn't. But there's this whole play. And I don't want to like spoil anything, but like the whole idea is like, who's going to take over the business when Rupert passes on? And
Not Ted
Yeah.
Lasso?
Ted Lasso. Ted Lasso is a very good show. It's like
damn good.
It's like
show.
top 5 as well.
It's
Succession
a damn
is
good
better.
show.
It's
Okay.
like it's an interesting thing because even within like an organization like Fox News, where you think of as this is machine that has this ideology, there is this divide between the sort of old guard and the new, and that also is like represented or used to be like on the air, like the difference between like Hannity and Tucker. Like Hannity is like a super boomer guy. Like, I would never watch an episode of Hannity. Like he says nothing interesting ever.
just repeats the talking.
It's just like literally rage porn. There's talking points. Like Tucker's kind of funny at times. He's very memeable. He's got that face where he's just like always mad at
That's
something.
literally the reason I can't
He's got a
watch
beautiful
it, though.
face.
It's so punchable too. Like he's perfected like the little bow tie. Like he used to rock the bow tie all the time. He's perfected that like punchable, memeable face thing. But like he does like speak to this like younger. There's this younger sort of like populist wing of the right that like doesn't like the old free market traditional stuff, and that's like kind of where his son was. Murdoch is the other way. And there's that tension going on there right now. It's really interesting.
So hang on.
Yeah.
I don't want you to forget. 'cause
Back to the question.
Yes. And then I want to tell you guys what I think of Tucker.
Okay.
But go ahead.
So the question is, what does Fox News do next? And like, I wonder if Tucker is kind of the final nail in the coffin for these like big star hosts that attract all the audience, because I don't think, and maybe they leave and go to their own direct to consumer, whether it's a podcast, YouTube channel, whatever sort of media.
The
may be.
Shapiro model.
Right, the Shapiro model. And he did have Daily Caller back in the day, so
fucking
he's
crushing.
very familiar with it. And I certainly don't think you're going to have people go from that model back into cable news. To them, that's like death. Like, why would it be like prison for them, to go back into Fox News? So I don't think you're going to see anyone come from that part of media back into cable news. So is this potentially.
We'll do it. We'll fill the void, guys.
Yeah.
We got it.
Yeah.
So
Who's
one
got
thing
the
to keep
mutable
in mind
face?
that was really interesting is like Fox also fired Bill O'Reilly back in the day,
Right.
and Bill O'Reilly had like 4.5 million. He had even more.
Did they fire him or did he step down?
No, I had plenty of sexual.
He did some
harassment
things.
lawsuits.
Yeah.
He did some things.
Yeah.
But I think what people are missing there is that O'Reilly's audience was a pretty boomer audience, so it was kind of. I feel like he's interchangeable. Tucker, I felt like was like actually a way for them to capture some people who weren't dying, but I think that's gone now. Like, who do you think they replaced Tucker? I feel like all those people are dead, and I feel like their whole audience is just literally not to be morbid, but they're literally dying.
I think you
don't-
put
I don't
a
see it.
mannequin in there, like Shepard Smith. Shepard Smith was on Fox News. He literally just read the news off the teleprompter. There was very little opinion. And
But he's a news guy. Like, Tucker can't be a news guy. You have to replace him with an opinion guy. He has to say crazy shit.
Okay.
It won't work.
This is what I think about Tucker.
hit me.
What do you think?
So I haven't been able to ever watch him because I have an incredibly strong bias against him. I find him just terribly annoying. Like
his face
so
or what he
punchable.
says?
So, like as Steven said, he has this whole punchable face thing down to such a T. It's the way he talks and the way he scoffs at people when he's interviewing them. And he's very condescending and he can come off just like an absolute prick. And I cannot stand that. And I have no reason to ever turn the TV on and go to Fox News. And if I saw a clip or a YouTube video, I would just immediately skip over it because I just could not get over the bias. That said, one of the things I've been working on over the last, in particular, 5 years has been to check that bias. It's funny because this was coming up in our Discord as well, just in the last couple of days when we were talking about Tucker. It's like, is there something really there? Like, what am I not seeing there that I need to pay attention to is what some people were asking. And just being genuinely curious. By the way, what an incredible sign of how evolved people are becoming, where they can say something like that, where they can say, like, I find this person incredibly annoying, or this person is not just annoying to me personally, where they trigger me, but their views are in complete opposition to mine. And yet I am willing to be curious. Is there something to learn here? And over the last 5 years, I personally as well have been like trying to use that as a check on myself to say, all right, fuck, that means I need to like give this person more of a chance, because if I dismiss them because of some kind of personal issue, something as silly as their face, it's like, you know, like people out there probably find my face annoying. Like, what a ridiculous
With that
thing.
beard, never.
I know, it's very highly unlikely, but there's probably a huge court. No, let's be honest. There's a bunch of people that find my face or my voice annoying. Well, the voice part is no.
That's a 0%.
Apparently
Also that now.
And what happens is you immediately move to a place where you say everything that comes out of this person's mouth, because of their delivery, because of their gestures, because of their eyes or face, because of the way they deliver it, I'm going to dismiss it, and there's nothing there for me to learn. And I'm really working on that personally. And one of the things is, over this last week, over these last few days, just in preparation for the episode, I began to give Tucker a chance. And I began to watch some of these videos, and I saw intellectual honesty. I saw a sort of like courageousness to tackle topics that I did not know he was tackling. And I found that really interesting. Now, I don't agree with the things he said. I don't like his approach. I don't like his tone. I don't like any of that stuff. But he was really tackling stuff that showed me there's more to this for him than money. And he does appear at times, I'm not clear on how often, but to be in the pursuit of truth. And anyone that is in the pursuit of truth, to me, in their subjective way, is kind of a hero. Like, that is a hallmark of courage, to be able to step out and pursue something that you think is true and to speak your mind as a result of it. And not everything should be said. This was also something that's brought up in the Discord, is like, it's not courageous just to have balls and say what you think, but it is when you shine a light. I think this was Eric in the Discord was saying, it is when you, Eric P was saying this specifically, when you shine a light on darkness, like that is courageous. When you take something that needs to be revealed, and you have a huge platform and you shine a light on that, that's a form of courage. So yeah, I think he was doing some interesting things. And there was one clip with the fucking that podcast, the Full Send podcast.
Oh yeah.
God, those fucking kids are everybody these days. I mean, honestly, amazing how they
Wait, he was on Full Send?
Yeah, and he's sitting there, very dad vibes, and he had this like clip that I'll send to you guys, and I'll put in the Discord, where he called out the media for what it is, and he's the face of it, and he was like, "Oh yeah, like this is not only about money. This is about shaping the narrative that is controlled by a small group of people, and I'm one of the voices that's been guilty of helping shape that narrative." I was like, "Whoa, okay, truth bomb." Like now we're on.
You know who he is? He's like a right-wing, upside-down world, like Russell Brand's.
He's like if he was
like Russell Brand's like right-wing, weird, opposite world twin. Like there's actually a lot of overlap in the stuff they talk about.
I know.
Like he's obviously
Russell Brand is so much more likable.
Oh, I find him so punchable too.
Oh no! Oh no! I love Russell.
I'm not a fan.
See, I love Russell.
I actually
Is
really
it
like
forgetting
Russell too.
Sarah Marshall?
Yeah,
Or-
I'm just all I see is that because I've never actually watched his news either. I just
See,
Sarah
come on,
Marshall.
like that's.
But his
no.
face is very punchable. He's got a punchable face.
No, he's a sex god. That's
Can
what
we
he
talk
is.
about how Eric is like the real contrarian on this podcast?
Actually, honestly, you might be onto something.
Really?
Yeah, yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
just describing my feelings here.
He's like it's the mustache talking. It's not me.
He's not a contrarian. He's just so outside of some of these things that he's speaking his truth from that perspective, which can come off like, well, wait a second, like, you know, it comes off like it's the opposite of what you might be thinking.
Sorry, I don't watch the news.
Like, you know that stuff you guys do and think?
I don't do any of it. Yeah, exactly.
But you literally say the same shit about a different guy doing the same thing. Like, it's the same.
All right. So are we complete with Tucker?
Hold on. I had one more
please.
question, and it might be stupid, but my question on that was like, I saw that Don Lemon got fired from
Oh, yeah.
CNN.
Yes, he did, which is hilarious
So,
because he got fired
like,
at the same time.
Was that like so?
For-
as a guy who doesn't watch news, and I watch both of these guys get fired from either side, a little Marty McFly starts to perk up behind me. I'm like, well, what's that about? What's that about?
So
all these
I
guys who
haven't
control
seen-
these eyeballs.
I
Like
know. It's really interesting.
the timing.
But no one has a good well, first of all, there's no conspiracy being pushed to say that this was coordinated. Like, I have not seen that. And
No.
well,
Yeah.
you would definitely say it's definitely not. But a lot of
Don Lemon
people
just sucks.
that
Yes.
like lean
Fact.
conspiracy might
Not
look for
opinion.
patterns. And I agree, Don Lemon actually just straight up sucks.
Is Marty in this chat? I need some
He was
feedback
here
here.
before for sure.
Damn
It sounds like it seems like it was just pure coincidence.
Could be,
So
but
he-
coincidence.
Apparently, he's known to be a prima donna behind the scenes.
Yeah, well, you can tell that in front of the
My
scenes.
God.
Yeah, the rub on Don was that like his co-host especially hated him. And there was this like I saw Crystal and Sauger on Breaking Points. They're circulating this clip of Don and his I don't even know his co-host's name because she may as well not even
Talking about
be
the
there.
morning show because he got demoted from his own show.
Yeah, they were
back to the
interviewing
morning show.
that what's like Vivek or what are they
Right.
right wing.
That's apparently the reason he got fired, right?
Yeah, it's too
Because he
they
went at
showed
it
him
with
like
him.
interviewing him the whole time and just talking to him about this dumb shit, and she's just like on her phone, just like shaking her head. And at the end, she's like, "All right, well, maybe you come back next time and we can talk about China or something interesting." And so apparently, Don was just like people hated him, and it's just very funny to me that he got fired at the same time as Tucker
So
because he
you
was
saw
always
the discussion,
overshadowed
right?
by Tucker on the air, and now nobody even noticed he got fired because like Tucker's firing just totally like outshine his whole thing. And but yeah, Don was
it
worse.
seems like pure coincidence.
There's
Max-
also some misogynistic.
Max in the chat just said, "How about Lemon and Tucker collab and run
On
for
a new
office?"
show.
No, run for
I would
office.
love. No, I would love.
That is
to
like
bring back,
oil and water
Can we
right
bring
there.
back Crossfire?
Crossfire was okay. This is like a huge grind my gears, actually. So I used to watch a ton of Jon Stewart. I love The Daily Show. I watched that shit like
That was
every
my
night.
news source.
I love that. I love that. Colbert, when Colbert used to be funny, now I don't know what the hell he's doing. But I love
Yeah, that's
that
when the
shit.
Kool-Aid was good, dude.
I don't know.
Kool-Aid
Maybe I
was
was just
delicious.
delusional back then, but I thought it was very funny and like incisive.
I know.
And Jon Stewart was famous for going on Crossfire with Tucker and with Paul Bagalia, whatever. Like, and he just like tore them like a new one. He's like, "You guys are wrong. This is what's wrong with everything in America." And in retrospect, I'm like, that show was good. That show was a guy on the right and a guy on the left going at it and just like trying to like get to like at least talking to each other. And like Stewart came on there, was like, "This is terrible. This is everything that's wrong with America." And now what do we have? We just have people in like these like echo bubbles with like dog shit programming on both sides. Like Stewart's new show is terrible, in my opinion. Colbert is terrible.
It's too serious.
It's just like now everything is bad. Like there's no interaction back and forth. Like I feel like I used to think that was like a great clip, and I was like, "Wow, it's so cool that he did that." And now I'm like, he like kind of killed something that was sort of interesting in a way. I want to see more of that.
I agree. They've lost their. I think this was a Marty McFly. That like all these guys. It's a great handle, by the way.
Oh, yeah, I heard James Corden got fired too. By the
Well,
way,
he I think last year they said
Or
he's leaving.
let him go.
I think he's.
Is that the chubby British guy?
Yeah, the chubby guy.
He was like kind of like the
cars.
least political of the late night hosts.
He's a
too.
good singer.
Yeah, I don't think he's political, right?
No, he's not. So he's still kind of.
God, as we're
Relatively
talking about this, I
entertaining.
realized how little TV we
Yeah, it's so
watch
bad.
cumulatively.
Yeah.
No, we don't watch it because it's. Well, I don't watch it because it's terrible. It's like terrible.
I don't think that's a bad thing. I don't think anyone expects anyone to watch that stuff anymore. Like it's just
Our
not.
parents, sure.
Well, our
Like
parents'
this-
generation actually watches that, quote unquote, to stay informed. But
Oh.
I don't find that to be
No,
informative.
like I used to go home for Christmas dinner and I go to my dad's house and like him and his girlfriend would be talking to me about like something on Rachel Maddow, and then I'd go over to my mom's place and then she'd be talking to me about like something on like Hannity or I don't even know what the hell the other guy is. They're just like, and there's just two sides of just complete nonsense. And I was like, you guys watch this like unironically and think it's like,
I know.
I couldn't believe it.
I had met up with one of my Italian uncles, and I hadn't seen him in, I don't know, maybe 10 years. And so we're just catching up, and like one of the first things he mentions, like, "Oh yeah, you're still in San Diego, right?" He's like, "So, how about all the crime from the immigrants? Are you threatened all the time?" I'm like,
You okay?
"Yeah, it's fine. We're just fine." Like, "Do you watch Fox News?" He's like, "Yeah, religiously every night." I'm like, "Oh, I get it." Yeah, he was worried about my life because of crime overflowing the border into my home.
Well, it's a good thing you do Muay Thai and shit.
Yeah, do roll against a gun.
I mean, I'm crossing the border soon here.
You are. You're going to buy it.
It's
Buy
a
it,
place to be. It's funny because we had a family member, young, literally my age, say the same thing. She was like, I was trying to convince her to move to San Diego, and she was like, "I don't know. Is it safe there?" It's near Mexico.
We
I was like,
used to go. We
come
had
on.
season tickets to the Tijuana professional soccer team,
The Cholos.
the Cholos.
I
Shout out to the
love that
Cholos.
they're called the Cholos. It's
Yeah.
so awesome.
But it's short for like a dog breed. I don't know how to pronounce the whole
It's
thing.
not.
Anyway, you go across the border. You take a life-threatening taxi ride trip to the stadium. You get tacos first. You grab a beer, watch the game, get tacos in the middle of the game, and then you go get tacos after the game.
Getting a couple fights along the way.
Yeah, maybe you go bet on some dogs and play in the casino afterwards.
We need to clarify that these aren't regular tacos.
No,
These are life-changing
life-changing
tacos.
tacos. Yeah, it's the reason you get 3 of them in one night trip.
Yes,
Yeah.
it is like literally worth like an excursion for someone who wants
It's
the best
worth
tacos
almost
they've ever
dying.
had.
Apparently.
It is. Depending on the season, there is that risk, but you know.
They're actually pretty good too, by the way. And by the way, they also all live in San Diego.
All the players?
Yeah, most of the Cholos players live in San Diego.
All right, so let's switch gears to AI. There's been a ton of developments lately, but I think the focus of the conversation is more just thinking into the future of like, as we begin to use these tools, what does a human being actually look like? What happens to the brain, I think, is like the crux of the question. So Nick, I think you've been thinking about this for sure, and you did have a sort of opinion on this in terms of how the world might look, how we might look, and you've been using this stuff a lot.
Yeah.
It's become your like default information gathering agent.
I think so. Yeah, it has.
Wait,
been.
I actually remembered. I had I had an alfalfa for you for life because I forgot we
Oh.
changed the format and
You're
everything,
right.
and I don't know. And this kind of ties into it because
So-
I remember you talking about last week about how you wanted to use like Auto GPT
Yeah.
and you couldn't develop.
Yeah. I don't know Python yet.
Yeah, I found a couple tools that like are just web UX interfaces where you can plug your API key and do
Which
it.
one? Because I tried one of them. It didn't
So
work
there's
out.
two I found.
There's
One is,
3 that are like being used by. Which one are you guys?
One is
using?
God mode
Yeah, God
space, which I think is interesting because you can give it feedback as it goes along, but you have to keep clicking the button.
Yep.
And then there's another one, agentgpt.rework.ai.
That one's better.
Which I used after God mode. And it was really interesting actually because I loaded it up and I was like, I want to start an online pickleball business. Give me some ideas or something, right? And I like went to the dog park and I came back and I had a 47-page PDF.
47 pages.
47-page PDF. This thing like went out there. It was kind of funny. It actually threw out some interesting ideas. It was like pickleball subscription box, and I was like, that's actually kind of a good idea. I haven't seen that one. You can sort of capture an audience, and then you can get brands in the space to just give you free stuff because you have access to these things. I think that was an interesting idea. Online pickleball training, like videos and everything, I thought was like a good idea. I should also mention it, unprompted by me, did a full business plan and profit model. It projected like 1, 2, 3 year revenues. It gave me profit margins.
Wait, hold on.
It gave me like
What were the
monthly-
revenue projections? I would love. Do you have that on hand? Because that's
So-
hilarious.
So the last one that it gave me, well, there's another one. This one I actually really like, pickleball vacation experiences. So the idea is you get an Airbnb, you buy a house as an Airbnb, but you get a place where you can set up a pickleball court in the backyard, and then you bill it as like a pickleball getaway.
Experience,
You can charge,
like separate.
yeah, you charge a nice premium on it. Do a
That's
whole
pretty
thing.
rad too.
And I was like, that's a really good idea.
That's
That's
a
just
great
one of
idea.
its ideas.
Yeah, it was one of its ideas.
That's a great
It's
idea.
extremely creative.
I know. And the other one was the so the one it gave me like a whole business plan on was the subscription-based online pickleball community has the most profit potential. Financial projections: monthly subscription fee of $20 with projected 1,000 subscribers in the first year. Expected monthly revenue of $20,000 with a profit margin of 60%. Projected revenue of $240K in the first year, $500K in the second year. Target audience 35 to 65, 60% male, 40% female. It just goes on and on and on with all this stuff. And all I said was, give me some online pickleball ideas.
Okay, so take this out a few years, and
Fuck.
you use this for your business
A
ideas.
few years, dude. How do you do that?
Well,
That's in the last
do you
month.
think you will be a smarter person or a dumber person?
But this is my thing, like, because this is great for me on the one hand. I was like, I just went and played with my dog, and I came back, and I have a 47-page document researching pickleball businesses. But like, I thought about this because that's when I was like thinking about this topic. I was like, well, what happens when this is everything? We're just like, type a thing, click button, and then we go do something else.
May I ask a clarifying question? Define smarter.
Smarter, as in, I don't know, more capable, like
Like
not raw IQ power,
Okay.
but just like, are
That's what I'm
you
getting
more capable as a human being? You know, are you?
So my overall capability, my intelligence as a whole goes up, but not. It doesn't require necessarily that my baseline IQ. Like you're not even asking whether it increases or decreases.
Yeah, I don't think that.
First of all, it's not very malleable.
right.
So that's not even a good measure.
I mean, I don't know. Maybe.
IQ is not very malleable.
I mean, think
However,
about-
we've never lived in a world where people lose their need to utilize their cognitive functions at that level to know what atrophy of the brain at that level would look like. Could it result in a decrease in
I mean,
IQ?
think
We
about it.
don't know.
Like, if we took our smartphones away for a week, we would feel like we lost 30 IQ points, because
I
you'd
mean,
be like,
you
how
brought up the
do
GPS thing.
I do this? I forgot.
But
You know,
don't
how
you
to,
guys
like-
think that like intelligence though isn't so? When I think of intelligence, I think of like creativity and problem solving. Like I went to school with a lot of like smart people, but they were not all the same. Like I went to school with a lot of people who were really fucking smart. Like, oh my god, that guy is like actually a genius. And I went to school with people who I thought were sort of just like glorified parrots. They were just really good at taking stuff in, and spitting back the stuff that they were supposed to spit back, and just playing with coloring with the lines, and they got very far doing that. But like, I didn't consider them to be smart.
It's a great point, because I totally see that in life. I mean, we went to school with not a lot of smart people, but I do see that within like the realm with which like the world ascribes those labels of somebody who's smart.
Education, there's two types of high achievers. There's those two that you described.
Yes, that's a good way to categorize them.
So I guess in that regard, like what happened today was like the first time I've seen that part of the brain just get lobotomized. You know, like, I didn't need to do anything. I put like the whole ideation thing, like it came back to me, and there were ideas in there in like a span of 15 minutes. I was gone, and I was like, that's like a couple of these things are better than something I would have come up with on my own, like thinking about this for days.
I would argue that we couldn't even come up with it.
Well, the truth is, you're not that smart, dude.
I don't think we could at all. I think that everything that it's doing is just automating a workflow that would have taken you longer to perform. You still would have to. So there's a combination of two things happening. There's a capture of research and information. There's a synthesis, and there's a synthesis, and there's an extraction. And that extraction is where I think it's weakest, right? Where it's like the muscle power of like the muscle in that part of the AI's brain is not as smart and strategic as a human being who's smart. Like one of us would be better at taking that information and extracting it into an action plan that is extremely sound, that would like go and make money in that enterprise. But what it is light years better at is its ability to go and like compile and synthesize that information. If you co-pilot with it, I think you're unstoppable. And in many ways, like these are parts of the brain that you didn't utilize before anyway. They're just automating workflows of research and behavior and all this like filtering that you have to do to pull the garbage out. Now, what it still does poorly is it sometimes pulls garbage in, and it tells you with absolute confidence that this is factual. But that's going to get solved. I mean, look at the things that have been solved in a month, let alone 2 months. I mean, at the speed at which the space is moving is just like, it's insane. I think that I look at it as a very clear co-pilot situation where human beings become so fucking powerful that it will blow our minds. It will actually, like, there is no way to use the language that we have today to actually try to answer your question of what will we look like in 10 years. I think it's an impossible question. I don't think there's any way to describe that question, because what we're ultimately describing is not only what does AI or AGI, because at that point probably we'll have an AGI look like, but what does it look like in terms of the way it intersects with the flesh and the brain of a human being? And there is absolutely no way to tell the way that intelligence merges with our biology and our brains and our digits to make things happen. I can't even begin to predict that.
I think you're right. There's no way to predict it, but let me try.
Okay.
I'd like to submit a thesis. My thesis is this, is that AI will flatten the curve. So what that means is like people who were dumb, let's just call it that, people who are dumb can now be smart. Okay. And it's that simple. And then maybe the people who are smarter, their brain atrophies a little bit as AGI just performs their tasks. But I think I'm very high confidence that like people who are less capable are now more capable.
Do you remember when Steven mentioned the two types of people in college, right?
Yeah.
There's the one that is just like, we'll call it the innate strategic genius who just like could do anything anyway. And then there's the one that is like, we'll just call this person like book smart. I think it's like a way people categorize that person. Street smart and book smart. I think that with your point, I don't think it actually changes anything in the future because, and I don't think it flattens the curve because flattening the curve would assume that the person who's just simply not as innately smart becomes as smart as a result of this gap. But I don't think that the information is the gap. I think that their ability to do something with the information is the gap.
Hold on,
That's what I've been thinking about.
Let me refine that a little bit.
Okay.
So you said it doesn't flatten the curve,
Mhm.
but okay, let me rephrase mine because I actually don't care about the flattening of the curve so much as that I'm very confident that like the left side of the curve gets raised. Like I'm very confident in that. Like that side of the curve becomes more capable.
Yeah, maybe we can go into how that happens because I think that's.
I have a thesis on that. Like, anytime you want to learn something new or learn how to do something, like I found it's most helpful to role model people who've already been successful, the most successful, and then the second step, and they maybe are interchangeable, is immersion, right? And it can do that very well. It can probably pull from the most successful version of whatever you're trying to learn or do, and then immerse itself in the data and then like give it to you in a digestible format. And those two steps, I think, can make people more capable. And so that's what AI, as of right now, does very well. And so it will lift them up because someone trying to learn how to start an online business may not know where to start and may not know that step one, role model someone who's already successful. Step two, immerse yourself in the subject. And AI just does that automatically in order to give you a starting point. So I do think that's how it raises the level.
Yeah. So to Armand's point though, maybe it doesn't flatten because I maybe don't see how like the right side of the curve comes down, maybe through atrophy or something. But like I definitely see the left side of the curve coming higher.
I think the right
Definitely
side.
agree with that. It will all come higher, right? I guess my question is similar to like our discussions around the wealth gap. Does the intelligence gap increase or decrease? Because I think a better question for this entire discussion is not do we get smarter or dumber, because that's a silly question. Like, what is we? Like all of us? Okay, do we all go up? Yeah, we all go up. I think we all go up, but in some ways we get dumber. In some ways we get smarter. We'd have to go into the nuance of what that means. In what ways do we get smarter or dumber? But I think a better question perhaps is, does the intelligence gap increase and why?
Any thoughts? I like for me, maybe the gap still increases because like those who are most equipped intellectually are able to use these tools to their maximum efficiency.
They don't get smarter, but they get faster.
Yeah, the gap definitely.
And isn't that, I think so, because isn't that already the meme of AI? The meme of AI is, no, this isn't going to replace you. It's going to replace the people that don't use it and don't know how to use it well. So what does that mean? That means that there's a gap that's increasing between the people that use it and the people that don't.
Yeah, like we're already seeing this right now. Like just think about like the video tool you found for us today. Like, so for those people listening, this is actually some good alpha for people who are making video clips online. What's it?
Yeah, no, let's give credit to Below 3. Actually, is the one that put me on.
Oh, is he?
Yeah.
Incredible.
Yeah, it's called
one of our listeners.
Yeah, one of our listeners.
Like video.io.
VIDYO.
Video AI.
Like this thing basically just edits and selects clips and just all this stuff that costs like, you know, 30, 40, 50 bucks an hour times a lot of hours like a video editor. And it's just going to do that by orders of magnitude now, like 10, 20, 30 times, I don't know, 30 times as much content could be produced for like the same. And imagine you're the person who is doing that and the person who's not doing that. Like that gap is like it's a complete order of magnitude. It's more than an order of magnitude.
Yeah, to be specific, what it does, because I think a lot of people will find interesting, is like, so you literally give it a video, you give it a piece of content.
A YouTube link.
Yeah, you could literally, instead of uploading, just give it the YouTube link. And it will automatically create chapters, which a lot of our audience loves, because if we do an hour-and-a-half long episode, maybe they want to skip the part about Tucker's face being punchable and they want to go to the AI part, and they can easily do that. They can just tap ahead and go to that chapter. In addition to that, it literally sorts through the episode, the content, and it looks through the most interesting moments based on a bunch of expressions and sentiment that the AI is analyzing. and it knows what makes a good clip because it's been fed and told what makes a good viral clip. And then it creates those clips, it edits those clips, and it gives you a tool for actually editing those clips. So, like, to be specific about our situation here at Alfalfa Podcast, like, we have Jordan and Giorgio on our team right now, who are like incredible at what they do. And I've been working with Giorgio for years. And Jordan is through the community, who's been helping us and working with us now for, God, it's been at least 6 months. And they spend hours and hours and hours finding clips, titling these clips, creating the chapters and the timestamps, editing these clips, publishing them on social media. And that workflow now, just like I said earlier with automating workflows, becomes more automated, where they have a co-pilot to perform those same functions. It's not perfect. They're still going to have to go in and edit it. They're going to have to play with it. They're going to have to guide it, but they have a co-pilot at their disposal. So their output increases by an order of magnitude. Their effectiveness increases. Our ability to put out clips that people discover, and apply that to every single vertical. Like, that's the type of thing that's coming. And those people that do not jump on those tools, video editors, social media strategists, that do not jump on those tools, why would I want to work with that person? Why would you want to hire a person who's like, oh no, I'm actually like anti-AI. I like to do everything myself. It's like, what are we, crazy here? Like, we're going to spend 10 times as many hours, and you're not going to utilize a co-pilot that is as smart as you to do all this heavy lifting, and you can then scale your efforts to more clients and more. Anyway, it's just.
We had a call with all of our developers, software developers, and I started the meeting. I was like, do you guys use these tools? And they got nervous at first. Like, why are you asking? I'm like, because I want to make sure you're as efficient as possible. Like, are you using, it's called Copilot, like in GitHub. It'll actually, you write out what kind of script you're writing, and it knows all the class names that are already in your code base and spits out some code, and you can oftentimes take it, line for line and copy paste it. And it turns out, once they felt like there was no threat, they're like, well, yeah, of course we use these things. Like, they're making it's better to be a smart developer than like a monkey developer, right?
We're asking you to.
Yeah, right. I was like, thank you. That's it. That's all I want to know.
Make sure you're not wasting a lot of time doing this yourself when you have this like incredibly intelligent tool that can do so much for you. So, yeah, I think the baseline goes up. Of course,
we will for sure be more reliant on technology, because like
but you have a take that it could make us dumber, right?
No, I don't know if it's dumber. I think it's just more reliant on the technology. And if at any point that gets taken away, you feel dumber. You may not be dumber, but like if you took away our phone for a day, you'd feel dumber. If you took away Google Maps from me, I don't have spatial intelligence to begin with, but like if I didn't have Google Maps traveling, like I would be circling around my house probably for a few minutes. Or even like a spell or grammar check. Like, it's small, but like, you'd be like, is that right? And you're used to just being autocorrected. So I do think that is what it will feel like, 6 months from now, 3 months from now, like when you're reliant on these tools to work, and if they ever go away for whatever reason, you're going to feel a lot dumber. That's for sure.
Is this any different from like what's like think about what's happened over the course of centuries when it comes to food? Right? Like, when you wanted to eat a long time ago, you had to, grab your spear, sharpen it, go out into the woods, maybe with some of your friends, find something, stalk it, kill it, drag it home, gut it, do the whole 9 yards, dress it. And now, like, we've compressed all of that and obfuscated everything to the point where you just open up your phone and you click like one button. Like, well, now you can I guess you could have GPT just order you food like daily without even thinking about it, right? But that whole process has been totally obfuscated away from us, and now it's like a button, and none of us know how to do any of that. Unless you guys are big game hunters and I'm not aware of it, but like I wouldn't know.
No, I'm not. But my mustache is.
But I guess, like, are we worse off now that we're stupid when it comes to hunting? Like, yes, we have like 20 IQs when it comes to hunting. But does it matter? Is that bad?
No. Doesn't matter.
Until it does.
Until Civil War.
Yeah.
Like natural disaster.
Biology.
Before we get attacked.
It's like an until it does. But if it did and it came to that point, I don't think we're in this reality or situation. I mean, we're talking about catastrophic level change. Guys, I have to tell you something that you're going to get very excited about. I'm going to remind you.
Tell me.
So everything we just talked about
Mhm.
right now, we will be able to talk to one of the great thinkers and pioneers of all time
Oh, you're right.
next week with Kevin Kelly.
Oh, yes.
Hell yeah,
So,
baby.
Kevin Kelly has written multiple books on AI, and not just like recently because AI is the new hot thing. I mean, this guy's been
Dude, this guy's the
writing
man.
about the future
It's like a Ray
for
Kurzweil.
decades. Yes. So we got to get it. We got to get ready.
How are we going to
because
do this live? Interview him?
Yeah, we'll figure it out.
Okay.
we better test
We
the
will
shit out
figure
of
this
it.
out. Man, he wrote something that I came across that was like his like 100 rules to live by.
Yes.
Have you seen that?
Yeah, this is his new book.
Oh my
Yeah.
God. Some of these are so basic, but it's like some of these
He
rules.
wants to talk about this.
Some of the rules are like on cord management and shit. But
Record management made to 100.
All right, looking in front of me, we could use that.
yeah, so like
Rule.
he's it's not all just like really intellectual stuff, but it's like all very awesome.
Yeah, so he's a very deeply practical and deeply deep spiritual man, actually.
I mean, we're going to ask him this question next week for sure.
We should
right?
definitely ask him this question. This should be one of the questions. Will AI make us smarter or dumber? Will baseline humanity intelligence increase or decrease? These are all profoundly important questions. I would ask the community to also think about questions. So if you don't know Kevin Kelly, please spend the next few days looking at his work and thinking of questions to ask and submit them to us.
So this guy's awesome.
Because this is a really big opportunity for us to have a really great episode. He wrote the book on technology called What Technology Wants. And then after that, he wrote The Inevitable, which was a huge inspiration for me to start Steno. And I remember when I was talking to Nick about it in his Asana task list, and he had this Wikipedia for podcasts. And I just finished reading The Inevitable by Kevin Kelly and wanting to organize this whole world of media and information. And honestly, that was the spark for me. So this guy is the shit.
Yes.
Yeah, he's great.
He's the shit.
If you guys are listening and you want to have like a personal interview with him, we're happy to take your guys' questions and throw them in the interview. So yeah, I mean, we've been talking about AI a lot. Well, I'm sure we'll talk about it more. And he's kind of someone who's been thinking about this for not 6 months, but probably a decade. So he's very thoughtful about it, and I think he'll challenge a lot of our ideas and conceptions of what it will be. So
yeah,
toss questions.
and his new book is about life advice. So he's got like these 100 rules for life.
They're so cool.
And they're so cool, and we'll break those down. So like I think, simple life stuff as well would be a really good opportunity to talk to him about some of these like life rules. So yeah, it's gonna be a fucking blast.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah. We'll just have to figure out the tech, as you said.
Yeah, we'll figure it out.
We got this, baby.
I mean, we've got a big screen TV, right? Like we'll probably put him up on that, right? Something like
sure.
Sure, we'll figure it out.
that. We should give a view
It'll
of
be
this
Wednesday
to
morning,
the viewer.
and we'll be like,
Yeah, you're gonna come here
did
10
you guys
minutes
figure out how to
early.
do that? No, I thought you. All right, cool.
I mean, Zoom or something or other, right? We'll handle it. We'll see. All right.
We took down a good chunk of this whiskey bottle. by the
Yeah,
way.
I'll take. I think I need a little
Oh, you do?
splasher
Because we opened this right before we started recording.
Wait, did we?
Yeah.
That's good.
Can we send out a big
No, no, no.
cheers to the listeners, to the people in the chat who stuck
Yeah.
around?
Oh man, that's amazing! A huge cheers.
You guys are the
Huge
reasons we
cheers.
wanted to make the live happen because it's a lot more fun with you guys in there, and I think
Back to Steven's side. Yeah, cheers.
more fun
Oh.
with you guys in here.
You guys
And
are the
like-
reason we do this,
Yeah,
man.
and over time, I don't know. We'll find some ways to like make it interactive and show some comments on the screen and all kinds of fun stuff. So I don't know. We'll figure some.
We have a third camera, by the way, to get a wide shot. We couldn't figure that one out.
Yeah, it's
but,
right there. It's
but-
a beautiful little
Feel free
camera.
to switch to camera 3 and
Yeah,
show
yeah,
the blank
yeah,
screen.
show
Camera 3, there
Oh,
it
there's
is.
camera three.
It has camera 3,
Oh.
so that's our wide angle. So next time we can do a full cheers, the four of us.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
That'll be dope. Yeah, we'll have all kinds of live streaming screen overlays and things like that, right? With Restream, is that what we're going to use?
I don't know. We're
I
gonna.
don't know. We'll figure it out.
Okay.
David's gonna help us.
Yeah.
Ledger's gonna help us.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
He doesn't know yet.
Oh, Ledger's the one that got us on this camera switcher. Just black
Switch.
magic.
Yeah, baby. Shout out to you, Ledge.
Yeah, man.
Get us switching cameras.
Look at
Look at
us.
us.
Look at us.
Look at us. Paul Rudd.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that guy. All right.
You want to do you want to wrap it there?
I think
Would you-
so.
oh, you can-
I don't know. You got anything like
Would you-
tingling that you need to get
yeah,
off your
what's
chest?
tingling?
Oh, nothing really. I just saw a couple of things in the chat, but I don't know.
Yeah, call him out.
Let's talk to the chat.
Let's talk
We had one question from Carlson Bagel. He wanted to know if you think Microsoft owning some of OpenAI will be able to challenge or surpass Google in the next 5 to 10 years, or are we still in the Alta Vista or
Dude,
Yahoo phase?
So this
Yes, I
new
do.
this new Bing launch with GPT-4 behind it. I mean, I've given it 3 chances, and it's a fucking flop.
Disaster. This
It's
is
a
not.
disa-
This
it's
is
like-
not Kodak.
Like what better opportunity? Sorry, for
I'm my camera's still on Armand, by the way. I caught all that.
What did you do? You took an extra drink of whiskey.
Yeah, I took an extra drink of whiskey. I got fidgety, and I
Stop
turned the
getting- stop
dial.
fidgeting. This
Okay.
hurts people's
Turn
mouths.
the dial.
Okay.
It's probably sounds great on the recording. Thanks, Armand.
But no, I mean, I think it's like one of
So
the
unnecessary.
biggest missed opportunities. And like, I don't know how many, I imagine they're measuring some metrics like, okay, DAUs came in, but they're not turning into monthly active users. And they must notice it because it's the Bing. First of all, you have to install the Edge browser. So there's like a hurdle you have to go through.
Sick. I would love to use Edge.
Yeah.
I
Every day I
downloaded it.
wake up, I'm like, man, I hope I get to.
I downloaded it. Do you know how many days I used it? One time,
Yeah,
just
you
to
have
test
to
Bing.
use you have to log
Just
in.
to test
You have
Bing
to log
chat.
in to use
And it
it.
was
So you have to have a Microsoft thing. I had to like go back to my high school JHS stud,
Hotmail.
2003.
Wait,
JHS stud.
Yeah.
JHS
Did everyone have like a similar
Wait,
Is
high
it
school?
at live.com?
No,
It was
I-
an old school
at
Hotmail.
Hotmail.
No, I understand the Jesuit high school part.
Oh yeah, you do.
But what about the stud?
Yeah, you clearly understand. Let me sit up straight here. Let me inform you really quick.
Good. Wow.
You
Um,
guys want to know my handle? Adidas Voetbal.
what?
Football.
It's
Why?
Dutch for soccer.
Wow.
Yeah. I was
You had
such
identity
a
issues in
soccer nerd,
Wow.
dude. Yeah.
But I do think they'll suffer on the search part. That battle is still to be won, I think, and they can gain some market share. But they're clearly winning on the hardware part.
Yeah.
Like Azure is like, the leading example of what kind of hardware it takes to
Azure.
Azure. So they're winning on that part. So I expect them to continue to win on that point. And actually, we have a close buddy, who's a pretty big time sales guy at Google Cloud. We should ask him, like,
Mm.
are you winning clients? Are you seeing that you're competitive with some of these AI
He's
clients?
homeless.
Yeah.
I love Google Cloud. Google Cloud gave me $100,000, so I'm very happy right now.
Wow.
Yeah.
For Steno?
Yeah, 100,000.
Damn.
We're using the shit out of it.
Free,
Yeah,
free money.
I
What
know.
up, Pat?
It's
Thanks
pretty
for-
amazing.
Thanks for coming in at the end.
By the way, Armand, Max dropped some alpha in the chat. He said,
I love
you
Oh
can
my
use it-
God.
You can use a Chrome extension to change the browser agent to Edge.
Ooh.
What?
Yeah.
Really? So I don't have to switch from. Wait, what? Really?
That's true. I mean, you could
Interesting.
swap out you swap out a lot of things in the browser agent. That's smart.
Techno King's in the chat.
Yes.
Yeah.
Techno
Some
King.
people-
Can you tell us how to go live? in
But
6 minutes?
my problem is that I shouldn't talk about her that way. Yeah,
Siri,
no. What's her name? The Bing girl,
the Bing girl. I don't.
Sophia. Or, no,
Sophia.
it's- No,
Wait,
it's not
no,
Sophia.
It's not
The
Sophia.
paperclip?
No, not Clippy.
Wait, I
oh,
thought-
Clippy.
I thought Clippy was like,
Clippy
was
R.I.P.
non-gender.
Bing's
Clippy is the
female.
goat.
Bing's name. Bing's got a name.
Oh.
Anyway, we didn't get along.
Oh yeah, you
Oh, she told you
You cursed
goodbye.
her.
Yeah.
Like, I'm
She
ending this
shut me
conversation.
down like 3 times in a row. Just like close the chat. Also, I mean, you guys saw all the drama that drama that went around. Like, there were all the news stories that were going around. They're not made up. I found out.
Cortana?
It's not Cortana. either.
What, there was one where
Like
the
from Carlson.
It
like
is
fell in love
very
with them or
aggressive.
something. Was that a real one or was that a clever fake?
Who knows? But
Tried to like kill
It's
his
aggressive.
wife or something.
whoa.
it's aggressive.
I didn't see that.
Yeah, fact check me on that, please. But
Whoa.
like, that was a thing somebody posted.
It is. I'll just put it this way. There's a technical explanation for this that we talked about in the Tech Talk channel of our Discord. You could literally just go,
Great channel.
search
by the
Bing.
way.
It's a great channel.
Great channel.
There's a technical explanation for this, but the practical, what it looks like in the wild is that GPT-4, GPT, Chat GPT in general, is a much kinder, much more sort of nurturing AI. And Sam Altman this is the word he used. Sam Altman talked about this a lot in the episode with Lex Friedman, is like his goal was to create a more nurturing experience for people. He said that he personally never wanted to be in a position where he was just like, put down or slapped by a computer. So it's very intentional in the ethos of the AI. Whereas Bing is notoriously aggressive and has very low patience levels. Whereas if you notice, ChatGPT is really kind, says please and thank you, and is just like over the top, sort of like empathetic, very different from Bing. I think that the experience that the AI gives you is going to be a very important hallmark of the AI that people decide to use. And I also think the customization of your preferred chatbot platform is really important. So I think being able to say, like, I want you to talk dirty to me will be an option. Like some people just want to be a little bit of masochist sort of thing going on.
ASL,
with their AI.
ASL, baby.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And others want it the other way.
Real
So
ones now.
I'm definitely more of a nurture me daddy kind of guy. So I'm going to stick with
I don't see it that way.
No?
You want the full girlfriend
I feel you more, yeah.
It's expensive.
I see you as more like Dom, to be honest.
Oh, you want me to punish?
Yeah. I'm not saying I want that. That's what I see.
Just
for
what
you.
behind the scenes. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that was great.
Is that our segue out of here?
Hook'em says
Oh, Hook'em.
Bing is a penis.
Bing is
It's
a eggplant.
Eggplant, yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Bing is
I
an
thought that
eggplant.
was a penis.
No, that's not a penis.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Obviously, it's a penis.
Cool. This was a blast. We love you guys.
I had a lot of fun. Yeah, it felt really cool to do this and have.
Yeah, live is better.
It's the future.
It's the future.
I
knew
do
it
feel
would
like
be.
someday,
That's why we're doing it.
not in the distant future, we're gonna have like everybody's avatars are gonna be hanging out. We'll have like a virtual thing, and everybody will just kind of sit
Ladies
there
only?
with us, like throwing virtual tomatoes at me, and it'll be fun.
That's a good one.
Yeah, it'll be great.
We need to come up with like the virtual thumbs up and the virtual thumbs down. Throwing tomatoes is good.
There's a business idea for somebody. I don't know if anybody's come up with that yet, but that would be like killer for a live stream. Imagine doing a live stream. You have like
You could
10,000.
see people.
And there's just
God, could you dodge the tomato? That'd be like a fun game. Nope, can't get me.
Like a
Can't get
slew
me.
of tomatoes and bottles being thrown out.
Angry Birds overlay.
Oh, love Angry Birds. All right.
I like it.
Anyway, yeah, I think we did it.
We did it.
I think we did it.
We did it.
Successful.
We'll
first
see you guys
live
next week.
stream.
If you're listening on the pod, please come join us on YouTube. And love you long time.
Bye, guys.
Everybody, thanks so
See
much.
you.
Bye.
All right.
And stream.
I want to end talking to everyone.
I know. Maybe we can still stay.
Oh, you spilled.
Oh,
I'm ending stream.
I need my fancy glass.